Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everyone this evening? Let's see. Is everyone here? Is everyone okay? Um, let's just make sure it's all going because there was some sort of um, error here. No, everything's going. Everything's flowing. Everything's flowing. Good, good, good. You know, my streams always start a little wonky. Um, let's talk about um, the Great Northern, like the Northern Conspiracy, the Grand Northern Conspiracy, and everything again. But let's be a little more cynical about this. Um, and let's get back into it because obviously one of the things that really makes people really love the Northern plot and think about Stannis and such is this idea that there is secretly this Northern conspiracy that, and people can argue about how big it is, but at minimum, people kind of think that it involves Manderley and Umber, um, you know, secretly being against Stannis, and obviously Manderley seems by itself seems pretty certain. So the but I will say like there's a lot of things about um, the events in A Dance with Dragons that make one think that there is some sort of conspiracy going on between the Manderlys and the Umbers and Mance Raider. Um, Certain things that don't add up, and that a conspiracy fills in those gaps. However, let's be honest, George also makes a lot of mistakes in A Dance with Dragons. And so I want to go through the events here and talk about this um, a little bit because it's kind of important to think about it in this sense because it may, we may be just imagining everything and that this is all just a George mistake and that everybody's kind of seeing conspiracy somewhere that isn't there. And so let's be a little more devil's advocate. Obviously, I think without the conspiracy, the northern plot is not very interesting at all, and and that man, it would be really sad if we were all imagining it. But let's talk about where things are at the beginning of A Dance with Dragons with these three characters. Um, and I'm talking mainly, we're going to be talking about Umbers, Moore's Umber, Mance Raider, and Wyman Manderley. Okay? And so at story's beginning, this is where everybody is. Okay? Now, Umber gets the Wrong Way Rangers to come visit him. So there's good reasons to think that the Umbers would be backing Stannis, and later Moore's Umber is backing Stannis. And so there's no conspiracy there. Moore's Umber, half the Umbers are just backing Stannis, and Manderley straight up admits that he's secretly backing Stannis if they get Rickon back from Skagos. And then Mance Raider, is at the wall. And so if we go through the story, in Reek 1, Theon discovers that Ramsay is going to marry fake Arya, Jane Poole, and this is when it's first revealed. This idea. Now, the news of this wedding, and this wedding is going to take place at Barrowton, and news of this wedding is yeah, people know it's eventually going to happen in King's Landing, but no one's talking about this wedding in the North because the news is not out. And so, for some reason though, Manderley is invited to this wedding at some point. So we're talking. What's the best way to show the chapters in order here? Maybe I'll take a screenshot of this because this is it's important to go through the chapters here. I'll take a screenshot of this and bring it up. Okay. So So let's start. We've got week 1. We find out that there's a wedding. And then we go to in John 4, we find out that Mel has a vision of everyone gathering at Barrowton. So, but they don't know why people are gathering at Barrowton. They don't know it's a wedding. We're just hearing about she has this vision of this wooden city. Okay, so then in week 2, the wedding continue. Plans of the wedding continue, and then we get to this is where things get a little weird. Okay, so in John 6, or 28th chapter, there's going to be a wedding at Barrowton, and in John 6, a letter goes out, an invitation to all the lords in the north, and Jon Snow, that there's going to be a wedding at Barrowton, between Ramsay and Arya. Then we get to Davos 4, and we find out that Manderlys erroneously claims that he's heading towards Winterfell. He means Barrowton. It's an error. There's no way to reconcile this. This is just a fuck up with George R. R. Martin. Manderlys should say, I need to head to Barrowton to go to a wedding. He says, I'm going to go to Winterfell. So keep that in mind, that George has already kind of made a mistake here. So at this point, Manderlys leaves. Okay. Manderlys leaves Barrowton and starts his trip, or leaves White Harbor and starts his trip to Barrowton. Okay. And then our next chapter in the story is Melisandre 1. And in Melisandre 1, they get a vision of a woman on a horse at Long Lake. And so Jon sends Mance Raider to rescue Arya at Long Lake. And I imagine at this time that Mors Umber, or Umbers, maybe Hothar, are heading down the King's Road or whatever for the wedding. And Manderlys is on his way to the wedding. And now Mance Raider leaves the wall to head to Long Lake. But weirdly, Mance Raider says that he wants 6 spearwives for a ploy of his. Don't know what the ploy is. So at this point, maybe you could argue that Mance Raider wants to sneak into Barrowton and try to steal fake Arya, right? And then it gets pretty complicated because let's see, after then we get week 3, and this is important. Everyone's on their way, and Manderlys makes it to Barrowton, and then they decide, no, in fact, let's go have the wedding at Winterfell. So now everyone has to head to Winterfell. Okay. And when we next run into everybody, Prince of Winterfell chapter later on, Mance Raider arrives with the Manderlys as part of, he goes in there because Manderlys brought a band but doesn't bring a singer. So Mance Raider is accepted. Even though the band also, Manderlys' band doesn't appear at Winterfell ever. So we don't know how this is going on. So we kind of say, okay, some people say, well, Mance, maybe he was walking on the King's Road and he got picked up by the Umbers, and the Umbers told him that, hey, there was a change in plans. A second Raven came. The wedding is at Winterfell. And he says, okay, I'll head to Winterfell. So maybe we can argue that that Mance, after heading to Long Lake, realized the whole vision thing of the girl on the horse is crap, and maybe he never believed the girl on the horse, and he always thought it was the wedding, because why did he have that ploy with the 6 spearwives? And so maybe the Umbers told him that you can get in with Manderly. The problem here is how say you can even establish a Mance Umber conspiracy. How are you communicating that to Wyman Manderly? Wyman Manderly has already left White Harbor, and he already left White Harbor without his singer, as if he'd planned for Mance to be integrated in the first place. But how did Manderly know to leave the singer behind? I mean, he also in his chapter, he also strangely knows to go to Winterfell. So it's you can say that you can try to come up with this idea that, okay, Mance ran into the Umbers. They came up with this whole conspiracy because the Umbers and the Manderlys have been working together on ships, and they're tight now. And that let's have a plan of sneaking you in with the Manderlys as a singer. It'll be really cool. How did they communicate that to the Manderlys? How did they set everything up with the right timing to get Mance there at the right time? And why did Manderly leave his singer behind to allow Mance to come in? Because when you take these facts by themselves, you say, well, Manderly weirdly arrived at the wedding without a singer. And Mance was able to become the singer in the band. It sounds like, oh, that's a perfect conspiracy. Except, how did Manderly learn that Mance was on the road? How did he learn that Mance was coming to the wedding? There's a real information divide here, where you kind of say, well, how are they communicating? Because Wyman Manderly left White Harbor. He left White Harbor a long time ago. He's been on the road for months. How did he, or is it just one big fucking coincidence that he happened to leave his singer behind and Mance Raider happened to, enter with Manderly? It just, and so, because keep in mind, in this, Manderly said that he was going to go to Winterfell when he was supposed to go to Barristan. And so, rewinding all of this, yeah, it's a great explanation on how Mance figured out that the wedding was at Winterfell, is that he ran into the Umbers. That's a great explanation. But it also could be that George R. R. Martin just fucking forgot. That he just fucking forgot. And just like Manderly said that I need to head to Winterfell for a wedding, the character of Mance Raider, who was supposed to go to Barristan, who was supposed to go to Long Lake, suddenly just goes to Winterfell with no explanation. How did he know this information? It may be that George just fucked up, just like how he fucked up with Manderly. But even if you are going to have this great little explanation that he runs into the Umbers and the Umbers fill him in on stuff, and now he is with the Umbers, how is he communicating that with the Manderlys? I mean, maybe let's say you get, let's say Hothar Umber comes down there and communicates everything to Manderly, and that Hothar Umber is actually also in on the conspiracy. How's he telling to leave your singer behind? It's way too did he leave the singer behind at Barristan? What happened? What happened to that singer? It's such forethought to leave that singer behind to allow Mance Raider to enter at the right time. So it's as great of a story as it is that there's this communication. um, logistically, it's really difficult to explain it. That, especially like timeline wise, like when did, like, even if you're going to say, okay, maybe Hothar Umber came, like, did it, like, how did Hothar Umber like communicate all of that? Was he gonna, or did he plan? Mm, mm, how did he, because like, say the Umbers come up with the idea that Mance is going to sneak in with the Manderlys. That plan only works if they know that they're going to Winterfell, because if the wedding is at Barrowton, they're already at Barrowton. There's no slipping in with the Manderly party anymore because Manderlys are fucking there. like he can only slip in because they're in transportation, like en route to Winterfell. So he can only slip in when he's en route with them. Ugh. You see the problem I'm having with this whole situation. Now, maybe prophecy, a time traveling brand, people having visions. I don't know, but it would have to be some sort of, like, Hothar Umber would somehow communicate it, and there'd be so much luck that everything got switched to Winterfell, and somehow Manderly leaves a singer behind, at Barrowton, knowing that Mance is going to somehow sneak it in. And I'm not even going in like travel times here, because the travel times, by the way, don't really work out. The Boltons get from Barrowton to Winterfell in just record time. They make that trip. Like, Manderley takes forever to get from White Harbor to Barrowton, and then they just kind of make it to Winterfell really fast. So, like, timing Mance Raider to get in there at the right time is also just not likely. And so, yeah, it's, maybe this conspiracy exists. It does. But it might also just be like literary convenience, George fucking up, like mistakes, because there's a lot of mistakes in the text surrounding these events already. Anyway, I'm sure we'll have some more questions on this. This will come back when people talking about this, but I'm sure people. I always end up like answering questions, and then like an hour later, everybody's answering questions. But anyway, that's just being a little more cynical. Like, how much is planned, and how much is just a fuck up. Oh, hey Preston, just wondering, how can you read chapters from George R. R. Martin's book without violating copyright or YouTube? Love those, by the way. Keep them coming. I mean, it depends. Like, so copyright is really an ambiguous kind of thing where you're allowed to provide material, as an example, if you're doing analysis, but there is a degree where you sort of say, well, how much are you allowed to use? I'm sure, if I was brought to court by George R. R. Martin, I would lose. I mean, with copyright, whoever has the most money wins. I mean, it's so yeah, it's probably not proper, but like video by video, I'm only using a portion, and there's analysis, so there's like fair use kind of stuff. But I mean, the real answer is, how am I able to do it? Because people aren't watching. I mean, there's a channel out there, David Reads A Song of Ice and Fire, where David has read all of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's a great resource if you want a free audiobook of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's right here on YouTube. Is it a copyright violation? Sure, absolutely, 100%. But it's still there because, he's reading it, so the automatic bots are not detecting the Roy Dotrice version out there. And it's been up for many years. eight years, 9 years. I forget when he started. Um, but like, how is it possible? Well, it's just, people just didn't, you know, um, the publisher hasn't like sought out, um, what he's doing. Um, and I hope they never do. But let's see here. How long ago has this thing's been up? Oh God, it's been. I mean, he spent years doing it. He read through the entire A Song of Ice and Fire series and Dunk and Egg, going all the way back, and it's been up. It's been up for like a good 8 years. You know, but how is that able? It's just the publisher never. No one's told him to bring it down, take it down. With my situation of going over, it's like I'm going set like piece by piece and doing analysis, so there is a fair use aspect to it. But one could make the argument that the totality of what I'm doing is too much material. So anyway, that's how it's done. It's done in that people haven't noticed or don't care. Could resurrected Jon exterminate others, be antithetical to Bran, peace with the others, and a political schism for Westeros' future? Is Davos and Ned parallel? Well, with the Davos Ned, in the fanfic we're doing a Davos Ned parallel. There's various aspects of Davos with Ned that you could talk about in parallel, like Davos wanting to whisk away Edric Storm because he feared for his life or something. You could make that argument that even though he doesn't really believe Stannis is the type of person that would execute a child, he's still a little bit unsure, and so he's not 100% positive because of the influence of Melisandre. So you could kind of argue that there could be a parallel that like Ned he knows that Robert isn't the type of person that would kill a child, but the influence of Cersei could maybe make him want to kill a child or something like that. So you could definitely make an argument that there's a Davos Ned parallel in with regards to Edric Storm and Jon Snow. But as for resurrecting Jon and it being antithetical to Bran, I don't know if George's original plan was peace with the others. I think I thought that before I saw the show, and now it's become rather apparent that the show had a lot, if not most, of George's original plot points. Not that George can't change his plot points, and would probably change his plot points, because as he goes, his plot points change because he just writes. He creates an outline and then forgets the outline. Cat going north of the wall is in the original outline of the Game of Thrones. Victarion dying, things like this. But so I don't necessarily think that like George's original outline had Bran making peace with the others. Maybe that'll be part of the fanfic. Maybe it would become George's. But George is never getting to the end of A Dream of Spring. So, but I don't think there was a thought of Jon being an extermination of the others and Bran being a peace with the others kind of dichotomy. I think Jon was very much put in the story as a sympathetic character who sees the wildlings as people, and he's considered good in that respect, and that he's just trying to protect the world from the others. I don't think there's no idea in Jon that he must exterminate the others. He's never said that sort of thing. He wants to protect the wildlings because the wildlings are people. He's never talked about exterminating the others. It's just not something that's happened. Now, a resurrected Jon, could that be? I mean, who knows? Who knows what resurrected Jon is like? But we haven't seen anything like that in the text so far. Like we haven't seen Bran wanting to make peace with the others, and we haven't seen Jon wanting to exterminate the others. So having them be this sort of antithetical to each other is just, I mean, we haven't seen anything like that. And not that it couldn't happen, but it's just, there's no evidence of it so far. How does A Song of Ice and Fire end? Big battle, undo magic, fix the seasons. Jon and Dany go north as Prince was promised. I don't see George R. R. Martin solving with war. So with regards to how George ends stories, George tends not to end things with a nice little bow where all the plots are resolved. He likes ambiguous endings. He likes bittersweet endings. He likes endings that where not every answer is there. I'm just going through like the big books, like Dying of the Light. You don't really know what happens at the end. It ends on a cliffhanger. Fever Dream has kind of a bittersweet feel to it. It's probably the happiest ending, but there's still a bittersweet feeling because they flash forward and the characters die, and they're lamenting the loss of somebody even though it's years later, and they lived a fine life and such. But there's like a loneliness to it as well. Armageddon Rag ends rather ambiguously with but what happens to the characters. It's kind of open-ended. So, I mean, can A Song of Ice and Fire fix all the fucking problems? Like, it's really hard. It's hard to have a big battle. There's not enough pages to have a big battle. Like, I'll say that. I mean, even if he planned for a big battle, there's just no way he could fit that in. There just wouldn't be enough space. Battles take a lot of space. And would he fix the seasons? I mean, maybe if there was like an epilogue that took years later or something. But for the most part, the show probably had the original plot points of what George was thinking. But that Jon would stab Dany. There's elements of that in the book. There's things that point to that. Like, for instance, Dany having a dream about getting stabbed with an ice penis. Definitely, seems like it could be Jon Snow. So, and that happens in the show. So, there was a big battle in the show. Maybe he could have a big battle, but that would take forever to write that. How many chapters? Like the Blackwater is what, a good five chapters, Battle of Ice, Battle of Fire, a bunch, but you take like, what do you have, like 5 chapters for a battle against the others, and then continue on and have the show ending. It would take a lot of chapters. There's no way he could fit that into 2 more books. Like, think about all the stuff that happens in the seasons, like with regards to the fight between Cersei and Dany. Just think about how many chapters the fight between like Aegon and Dany would have to be, and then how many chapters like going to Winterfell and like preparing for a battle against the others, and then going to King's Landing and dealing with the end of the complexities at the end, or where Dany wants to rule, and everyone thinks that she needs to be assassinated and things like that. It just can't fit it all in. And they didn't deal with fixing of the seasons, or anything like that. So I don't know. I could see it being easier. Like, I think in the fanfic it would make more sense to have everybody coming up for a big battle, and then the battle doesn't happen, or it's ambiguous, just because, man, the number of chapters of battles just be so difficult to write. Anything on Euron and Dorne, High Hermitage? I don't know. I don't think Euron has any interest in Dorne. There's been no mention of them, of him dealing with Dorne at all. The Iron. What's interesting about the Ironborn and Dornish plots, um, is they were they're both the added Feast for Crows like expansion, right? Which began as the mega prologue. George wanted to have a 5 year gap, but then he realized, fuck, like I can't have a 5 year gap because Dorne has to react to Oberyn's death, and I have to deal with like the Kingsmoot and Euron and how he came about, right? So he puts those chapters in, and then they kind of explode into their own stories, and the Ironborn and the Dornish just kind of like take over, um, as 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 plots. Like there's just so much of them. Um, but strangely enough, they don't relate to each other at all. There's no I can't, there's nothing that the Dornish aren't thinking about the Ironborn, and the Ironborn aren't thinking about the Dornish, right? They're independently going to see Dany. They're planning their own attacks in different parts of the kingdom. They have their own schemes. The only place they could maybe cross over would be some place in Old Town with regards to Sorella or Obara heading that way or something. And High Hermitage, I mean, with Darkstar and stuff, like Darkstar has no connection to Euron or the Ironborn at all. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're pretty separate plots. It's amazing when you think about two plots that have the least to do with each other are the Ironborn and Dornish plots, which amazingly enough, these new plots, these new stories. How is it taking politics? How is it talking politics in the new landscape? You choose your words and speak in a couch manner usually. You're gonna go all out or play it safe. Um, generally speaking, like people in government right now, like what I found is talking to people is the um, situation has obviously made everyone and given has made everyone very very starkly um, against things like Doge and everybody losing their jobs and all like the dismantling of government. Like obviously, government employees are against the dismantling of governments and the ruining of their lives. It's been very traumatic for them, and people have become quite ardent, in their beliefs. Um, it's I don't know if I can talk to it. Like I don't know if I can talk to a right winger anymore. Like it's gotten very extreme with me, or I'm just like, you're just not a good person and you believe nothing but lies and you're just bad. Like that's how rough it's gotten. And it's gotten that way and I'm experiencing very little of the trauma. Like I'm not an employee of USAID, like the there's it's a lot of extreme trauma. At the same time, some people are very careful at work because it's an unsure time. Some people have more of a fuck it. I'm very angry and need to vent. But I don't know. I mean, people play it day by day, and um, you do what you do. But yeah, it's really really bad. It's weird though, like to have everything be very chaotic and having people's lives um, be just in have so much trauma. Like people don't know what to do with like knowing if you're going to have a job. Like take all of these USAID employees that are abroad here, everywhere. Like if you don't know if you're going to have a job or not, what do you do with like your kids and like putting them in school? And this gets into a very dangerous thing. Like you're just like say summertime comes and you're like, oh, do I take the risk that a lawsuit is going to keep me employed for a little bit longer, or do I just quit and bring my kid home so he can start the school year anew rather than having him ripped out of school in the middle? like just those little decisions. And like where am I going to go? Am I going to have a house? Am I going to have a place to live? I have to find a place to live and find a job and deal with my kids' schools. Like that sort of trauma for those employees is intense, and the amount of stress they have is just intense. And it's just really horrible what's happening. What Musk is doing. So it's I really feel for people, and there's a lot of people that are, and I'm pretty financially secure, but like some people are in a really like not a financially secure situation, and it's a lot of fucking stress. So it's hard. It's a really fucking hard situation, and it's just straight up evil being done by Musk and such. So it's hard. It's really hard. How possible was Asha winning the Kingsmoot, and would she have ended up taking Christopher Botley as her rock husband and Carl as her salt husband? No. So Asha never had any chance of winning the Kingsmoot. She and Victarion, had a slightly even situation, but let's be honest. Like Aeron is very popular. Aeron is very popular, and he supported Victarion. So against those two against each other, Victarion was eventually going to win. Had they joined their powers together, it would have been a great situation. But Victarion rejected that proposal from Asha. Asha offered she could either marry him or be his hand. Like she gave those two offers, and Victarion was like, nope. Like, okay, well, it all fell apart. So no, I mean, Asha, like, it's a very, very sexist society that she lives in, and Asha is somewhat delusional in thinking that she can rule them without a lot more support. So, I mean, the Ironborn are a bunch of fuckheads. Like, come on, what was she thinking? So no, there's no way she could get to a situation where Tris Botley is her rock husband and Carl her salt husband. Plus, like Carl, first of all, Carl is not a salt husband. Like he is the grandson of a thrall. Like that, she did not capture him in battle or anything like that, and that's not how it is. Like her desire to have like a lover on the side is different than the structure of rock and salt and all of that. So I don't know. It's yes, we're supposed to look at her situation and think, well, if she were a man, everything would be fine. But having like having a paramour and a regular husband, but it doesn't quite work. Like that's not what Carl the Maid is. Carl the Maid is her lover. Is her paramour that she like enjoys time with. Not somebody that she kidnapped. So I'm trying to think if there's any like what's the better parallel than it's not rock and salt. It's more I mean, I guess it's closer to Dornish or something, Do you think Daenerys is supposed to have a Free City accent, considering that she was raised in Essos? Perhaps it'll be used in the future to show just how foreign she was in Westeros. Interesting idea. So weirdly enough, if you look at the American accent, I've known people that have been raised outside of America who have American accents. And they achieved American accents by going to American schools, going to foreign schools, and um, having peers that are international. And so they just have American accents, even though they've never been to America or, you know. So you can achieve accent, you can achieve a Westerosi accent, like um, outside, but you'd have to be, you know, spending time with Westerosi, you know, Westerosi, which she does. She spends time with her brother who has the accent. So she and he, I think, you know, he's like the only one that's really going to be teaching her how to pronounce stuff. Like she doesn't talk about anybody else being in her life for very long. So I don't think it's strange that she would have a Westerosi accent. She's just mimicking her brother's accent, and that's her only influence on how she's getting it. You know, now when she's speaking other languages, you know, High Valyrian or something, she might pick up the accent of her teachers. But for the common tongue, she's her only person that she has influence on her is Viserys. So her accent's going to be Viserys' accent. So I don't think it's I don't think she would somehow get a different accent. Like she wouldn't start speaking common tongue in a Free Cities way, because you know she would have to have she would have to have a peer group. You actually pick up your accent from your peer group. But so like where you're in school and stuff like that when you're around puberty. So yes, and after that she's speaking with Barristan and Jorah and stuff like that. So yeah, she's her accent's going to be Westerosi for the most part. I mean, she might screw up here and there with some strange word. I've never heard that word before or something, because her only experience in speaking is with Viserys. But she's not gonna like default to, you know, Pentashi way of pronouncing something. She's gonna default to Viserys' way of pronouncing it. It's funny though, because I had this. So for a while, I had this Japanese friend who had a perfect American accent, but his English wasn't even that good. But everybody thought he was American, and so they'd immediately start talking about him really fast and be like, "Whoa, slow down! Like English is not my first language." But because he had gone to American school in Hong Kong for a while, so yeah, it's not. Greetings from Bolivia. Oh, welcome. Mm-mm. Preston, you're really quiet. Am I? I'm just closer to the mic here. Maybe it's too. Volume is fine. Who knows? All right. Longtime fan, got your book the other day. Excited to start. Thank you very much. I'll throw in another plug. The Dreams of Ghosts and Indians. Yeah, sometime soon I'm gonna I talked to Carmine today about you know, having a little talk about various things from the books and parts of my life, to advertise the book a little. So I think you might be hearing some more about Ghosts and Indians. You know, it took me a while to put together the book and such, but yeah, it's thank goodness it's finally out. Spice of Politics, how would you define Zionism, and do you believe leftists are at fault for Trump getting elected due to disagreeing with Kamala on Palestine? I don't think there's really anything special to Zionism. Zionism is just colonialism. That's all it is. Like, it's nothing. You know, people like to wrap it up in some sort of like other ideological like guise that, oh no, this is like a return to our land, or this is their religious destiny to be there. But that's no different than, say, Manifest Destiny, or you know, white South Africans feeling like they deserve South Africa for themselves or whatever. It's not really important. Like what, like the reason you get to the belief that you think your colonialism is justified, but you know, it is just colonialism, right? And I, you know, so I don't, you know, people have these words for it, but it's not really useful. Like I don't think the word Zionism is very useful. It's just colonialism, like, right? Like it's just people that believe that their land, this land is theirs, like, and that, you know, locals, other people around don't have a right to the land, right? You know, obviously there you can have Arab Zionism too. I mean, you know, you could have, besides Jewish Zionism, I mean, you could have any of it. But the but you know, with regards to, and I'll be very clear on the Middle East. Like, I believe that all places in the Middle East like have the same problem in that there is not a separation of the religion and the state, the church and the state, the mosque and the mosque and the state, the temple and the state, right? That is the fundamental problem with the Middle East. And when people are born into identities that are largely imagined like this, you know, like you're born Christian, you're born Jewish, you're born Muslim, and you can't marry who you want, and you have a different set of laws and different set of rights based on that, like you're fundamentally going to have a failure. Like it's the same if you have a state where it's based, where people with different races have different rights, and there's a different legal system for different people with different races, and you're not allowed to marry each other. It's all the same, okay? Like it's, I mean, it's funny that it's like it's fucking 2025, and I have to like explain to people like, hey guys, secular governance is actually good and equal rights is good. It's amazing that I have to like fucking explain that, and like because it's a very simple thing that we used to all just fucking believe as like a default, and somehow it's people have forgotten it and made exceptions, you know, like no, not, we don't mean equal rights, not this time. Equal, no, this is something special, or this is something different. Okay, it's, you know, whatever. Look, I live in, look, I'm a white American, right? Like my country was based on colonialism, right? I you know, there's crimes of the past, and there's continuing on in the future, and all I can say is that the best way forward for America is equal rights and secular governance, and it's the same thing with the Middle East. Like I'm not asking for anyone to leave Israel, Palestine. You know, what I want is everyone to be living there together under secular governance and equal rights. Like that's what I want. So, you know, somehow this is the fucking crazy idea, equal rights. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know? So I don't think like these ideological terms are useful at all. Like I think they hide and they attempt to complicate things that are not that complicated. It's just not that complicated. If you live someplace where people have different set of rights, that should be corrected, you know? Like every person deserves rights. Every person deserves a state. Every person deserves justice. Every person deserves like, you know, the ability to worship what they want and marry who they want and not be discriminated against based on their ethnicity. So it's just somehow I'm fucking crazy, and I have to fucking defend myself with this like something that seems so logical. But do I think that the leftists are at fault for getting Trump elected? Look, I think that the leftists who um, are claiming that Kamala was wrong on Palestine are really dumb. Okay, I think it's. I don't think though they were the single deciding factor. You know, I don't think there was enough of them that they were the single deciding factor. Like you could say, okay, maybe they had an effect in Michigan, but come on, Kamala lost Pennsylvania, she lost Wisconsin, she lost all the swing states. So like they weren't the deciding factor. They weren't. So like they weren't the fault. Now, do I think that they're pieces of shit for inventing reasons to hate Kamala? Yes, I do. Um, and they're very quiet now, right? You know, all of a sudden, you know, when Trump starts like rounding up Palestinian protesters and deporting them and making people disappear, like, oh geez, maybe there was a fucking difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, you know? Oh wait, like all of a sudden, like when Trump's like, oh, we need to actually expel everyone from Gaza and build a resort there and like just turn a blind eye to everything Netanyahu's doing in the West Bank. Like, you know, right, like how, like the fact that like it's just they're so short-sighted and dumb. Like clearly the Democrats are better than the Republicans on every issue, including Palestine. Very much Palestine. I mean, Democrats believe in a two-state solution. Trump does not believe in a two-state solution. Okay, that's like that's just one is clearly better than the other. Two-state solution definitely better than Palestinians having no state. Okay, like I think the leftists that were inventing things like it's you know, it's just like finding something to think that you're somehow holier than thou or inventing a reason to like somehow support Trump. Like there's just nothing to it. Like it's just the criticism of Kamala Harris on Palestine is just like it's just out of fucking nowhere. Um, so no, I don't blame them for the election, but I think that they contributed a little bit and that they're dumb. They're really fucking dumb. Um, but you know, I think the Palestinians should have a state, and I would like to elect. I'm for political leaders that believe that the Palestinians should have a state, and somehow they can twist themselves into knots into saying that they should not vote for Kamala, who believes in a Palestinian state, and vote for Trump, who does not believe in a Palestinian state. This is how backwards their thinking is, right? That they can somehow twist their logic around to get to that point. Um, you know, it's just. So anyway, um, oh, any thoughts on adding a false spring when Jon is resurrected? They kind of this kind of happened in the show with the burning of Shireen. Could give room time for the story to breathe. The warmer weather helps. Yeah, I mean, imagine. I mean, I don't know if the spring is the right word, but yeah, something where there's not a storm freaking killing everybody at all times. It's funny how in the show it just stopped really being that cold, right? Like it just like continued on. They're like, winter is coming, and then no, it's just kind of mild, just kind of mild. I mean, it certainly helps with uh, transportation and things like that, people getting around. But it's pretty brutal for everyone to be constantly in a winter storm, losing limbs to frostbite. You know, people run out of limbs by the end of the book. But yeah, I mean, you know, probably things will be I don't know if burning a Shireen will do it, but in general, I think that there, you know, a respite. I mean, that happened with Jon. Like, there's a, like starts like Jon gets stabbed, and the weather is notably improved from where it was. So I think that's happening. Yeah, that's happening. Plus, you'll see when the Asha chapter should be out in a couple weeks, and then you can see what we did there. Isn't Crowfoot's daughter a wildling and potentially Rowan? She does call Ned Lord Stark when scolding Theon. Yeah, this is a so one of the things is that Umber did have a daughter that was kidnapped, and I don't know if potentially Rowan. I understand that like if you were going to keep in mind that like when Mance asks for people to come with him, he asks for 6 hot spear wives, and in the end he gets, I think, only one that Theon thinks is attractive, or so it's a little weird. Again, it's just one of these inconsistencies. Like, is this intentional or did George fuck up? I don't know. But say you were trying to like return Umber's daughter after a kidnapping as some sort of hostage negotiation, why would you be bringing them to Winterfell? And why would you be including them in part of your death-defying escape with Theon? Why would Jon Snow, of all the people, like pick her randomly of all the wildlings? Like, how did that all come to be? Like, you'd think if say Jon Snow happened to pick Umber's daughter, that he would bring him to Last Hearth, and then he would have 5 spear wives when he made it to Winterfell. Like, why would Rowan be brought to Winterfell? Like, I don't like. Once you start examining the story, you're like, well, how does that make sense? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just we have this character who's weird, and we have this other character who's missing, so they must be the same person, So, I mean, if they're a hostage situation, he would have arrived with 5 spare wives and would have left the daughter at Last Hearth or something. Like, there's no reason for him to bring her and have her be part of this whole thing. I mean, so is it weird that she calls him Lord Stark? Sure. But, at the same time, Ygritte was really weird about them being like, oh, it's Jon Snow, the bastard of Winterfell, and things like that. And so I don't know. I mean, it may just be some weird inconsistencies, or part of this wildling reverence for the Starks based on the Bale the Bard story, that seems to exist with Ygritte. That we saw a little bit in Clash, but yeah, just her being Rowan just doesn't fit with for me. Like, her being returned in some sort of like grand conspiracy, like swap of people, I could understand that, but I don't know why you'd bring her to Winterfell. Oh, seeing doorways. Biter 100% took Rourke's nose. Yeah, I mean, George is pretty obsessed with the nose thing, right? So on top of, originally Tyrion is kind of based on this nameless character from a story called Under Siege. That character didn't have a nose. There's a noseless time traveling dwarf in Under Siege. So he's got, and then we get to, Rourke's missing a nose. Tyrion loses his nose. We have this loss of a nose or these bitings up nose off in doorways. George has had people missing noses in far too many stories. Like, it's to the point where you just kind of go, oh well, geez, that's his thing. He likes fucking noseless people. So, I mean, he loves to take previous ideas and recycle them. So clearly, yes, like Cat being a nose biter was recycled and put into Storm. It was put into Clash and put into Storm. It was all fucking there. That's weird though, to think that, because Rourke and Biter are introduced in the same book. that Tyrion loses his nose. Do people ever talk about that? That like story begins with a loss of with seeing someone's nose lost and ends with someone's nose lost. Is that just by chance, or is there some sort of like narrative structure to that? When does she meet Rorgan Biter? Yep, Rorg appears in the first Arya chapter, and so one could argue, wow, one could argue that the story began. Arya 1 is, by the way, the first chapter of, I mean, besides the prologue, it's the first chapter of A Clash of Kings. So you could argue that, like, that the story begins with her meeting someone that's missing a nose, and it ends with Tyrion losing his nose. Never thought about it before, but fucking noses, man. Fucking noses. But yeah, it's definitely a well. It's definitely a well he goes to. I mean, well, Jane Poole loses her nose too, doesn't she? Man, love people losing their noses. Hi PJ, long time, first time, etc. Could the others see Wights as benevolent gift of eternal life given as part of the pact? I mean, that's an interesting aspect to it. The you know, the only other time I've this idea has actually been brought up is there's a movie called Fido, which stars Trinity, and it's a post-apocalyptic zombie movie, and it's not a great movie, but it's interesting in the sense that it's kind of like about a civilization that exists post zombie apocalypse, like that's stable. And in Fido, there's this discussion. Trinity's husband is obsessed with like dying, like he wants to eventually die. And in this universe, I'm sorry, this is an important plot point. In zombie movies, there's usually two types of zombies. There's zombies that bite you and you become a zombie and it spreads like some sort of virus. And then there's zombie movies where anyone that dies rises from the dead again, regardless of how they die. So this is, for instance, in the Walking Dead, anyone who dies, regardless of how they die, rises as a zombie. And so Fido takes place in a world like this. And so they, for instance, it's a fascist state, and they have to like keep old people apart because they're afraid they're going to die and then become zombies, you know? So, and they also use zombies as slaves. But there's this discussion. The husband in it is obsessed with dying because he doesn't want to rise as a zombie. And so he's been researching like, oh no, we've got this, there's this way where after you're dead, we take your head and we put it in a box, and it causes you so you never rise from the dead. And they have special funerals about how let them not, like, you know, we all, normal funerals are about people rising, let Jesus, you know, have you born anew in heaven and all of this. So it's like their funeral was like, let the person die and not rise again. But it's strange because like Trinity and the son are like, nah, like I'd rather exist as a zombie than like have life be over. And they're like, yeah, zombies for us, you know. And it's like this weird idea of zombieism for the first time being paralleled to eternal life in heaven, and it being the afterlife with like so you've brought up a very kind of similar idea to actually that movie, which again, not a great movie, but there's some strange dark elements to it, and it's a comedy actually, but it's strange dark elements to the zombie existing as a zombie being paralleled to like regular human afterlife, like heaven or something. Um, yeah, it's interesting. But could the others have seen that that they're doing something nice for the Wights? I mean, it's creepy enough that George R. R. Martin may have thought of that idea, like because it does kind of give you the willies, like oh god, like they think they're being benevolent by turning everyone into zombies. That said, the zombies do seem to be hive minded, like they're being controlled by the others. So I don't know if they actually have consciousness of their own versus just being puppets. So maybe. Are Quent and Victarion staying in the Marine post battle? No, no. In the fanfic, they are taking their prizes and heading home. So we will find that in the next Victarion chapter, he will be on his trip home. I'm thinking about having him be on the Summer Islands, and I'm thinking about having Quentyn on the Demon Road, um, with their prizes, heading home, getting them out of Slaver's Bay. But that's the plan, at least at this point. Not to spoil too much, but yeah, that's the idea. Is that um, uh, it's probably not George's original plan. I mean, George's original plan definitely had Dany meeting Victarion at some point, right? Like she's getting a vision of or Euron, because I think it was replaced at some point. George originally wanted Euron, and then he replaced it with Victarion. But she receives a vision at the House of the Undying of the Greyjoy, of the man with gray lips smiling sadly or whatever on the prow of a ship. Like the idea that she would meet this person at some point, right? Hmm. But I think it's more interesting to have them head home with their prizes first. Um, what the fuck is a leftist? I hear Americans use the term, but it seems like one of the things they have made up, like cultural Marxism, that just means nothing. Um, I think the term leftist has kind of come out of the past dozen years. It hasn't been around that long, but generally speaking, when you talk about somebody like me, I consider myself a liberal. I fundamentally, I'm a capitalist who believes that progressive taxes and social programs are in place to redistribute wealth, and that I generally vie for a society that's somewhat like Scandinavia as a liberal. That I still fundamentally believe in capitalism. I think leftists don't like do not think capitalism like fundamentally should be the system. That they believe it that there should be something like democratic socialism as the fundamental system. Not and I understand that one could argue like how is that any different than what I've described, and it's like it's probably not, but it's just how people view the scope. But as an economist, like someone who studied it, like I view capitalism differently than most people. So it's like, but I would say that that's what people are talking about. Like a leftist is someone that doesn't believe in capitalism anymore, while a liberal is a left wing person who still believes that capitalism should be the fundamental base of this, like open markets should be the fundamental base of the society. um I feel the Umbers and Manderlys have built river runner ships and used them for the last river and long lake. Then they can ride up and down the White Knife. So they definitely built the ships. Let's see if I can bring the map back up. Yeah, I mean they definitely talked about it in a Clash of Kings that the lumber was up with the Umbers and they would bring it down river, and um, so they've definitely been building these boats. The boats they they keep mentioning the boats over and over again. Previous versions of of I mean, Manderley talks about the boats existing. Like uh, previous versions of the draft talk about maybe that the boats were going to attack the Freys as the Freys headed north and things like that. So it's not that that there isn't transport on this river. I'm not sure how much is frozen right now, um, but but I don't think it necessarily helps the situation because say we're bringing Mance back into this, right? Mance goes to Long Lake searching for Arya. Okay, say he runs into the Umbers and they go, okay, great, we can take the river. Okay, well, he comes down to the river here. Well, the problem is Manderley is at Barrington. Like we can get Mance down to White Harbor really fast, but it doesn't fucking matter. Like is the idea that Mance jumps on this river runner and goes down and then back up the road, and then they kind of wait. They wait on the boat as Manderley is like coming, and then he jumps off the boat and like gets into Manderley's like party, and then whew, I'm in there. You know, it's this kind of situation. I don't know. I don't know if it helps the logic of the whole situation too much. Dragon Demands mentions that screen culture has been brought down. Thank God. Those fake trailers are just ridiculous. They're horrible. But I've always hated seeing that. Preston, I think the fanfic should be the way you think it should go, and not the way George R. R. Martin originally intended. Yeah, it's definitely doing that. There's, especially, it's like there's various things like I don't know if Shireen should be burned or not. There's definitely, you start with the sample chapters, you start with Asha fragment, things like that, things we know, and then kind of move on and see how it works. But yeah. Hey, Preston, greetings from Bratislava. Bratislava, have you heard of? I imagine in Bratislava you've heard of DJ Crazy Times. No, but I've been to Bratislava. It's really a fun, beautiful little town. The especially if you ever make it. I mean, everybody goes to Vienna at some point, so you're just like it's only like an hour from Vienna, so everybody should go at some point. It's a nice little place. But the work of Ken Liu, American writer. I've heard of Ken Liu. I've heard of the Paper Menagerie, things like that. I don't know if I've never read anything by him, but let's see here. Oh, story of Jack, first generation American son of a white American father and a Chinese immigrant mail order bred mother. As a child, Jack is enchanted by his mother's magical ability to make origami paper animals come to life. These paper creatures play with him, comfort him, and become vivid representation of the intimate bond he shares with his mother, as well as linkage to Chinese heritage. However, as Jack grows older, he becomes conscious of the differences between his family and the American families around him. Wanting to fit in, he begins to reject his Chinese heritage. He stops speaking Chinese and distances himself from his mother. Ashamed of her accented English and traditional ways, the rift begins to widen as the years go by, and then as an adult, Jack discovers a letter she wrote in Chinese. He translates it and learns about her mother's tragic past during the Cultural Revolution and her enduring love of him despite his rejection. Okay. That's interesting. Thematically, that's actually very kind of similar to the plot of a graphic novel called American Born Chinese, which by the way, like, it's like I understand the narrative and I sympathize with it, but at the same time I also have like fundamental problems with it. Because like they're always getting into this idea of like culture being in the blood, like you know, they're always like, oh, you're this is like this is your soul. It's who you are and things like that. And it's like your culture is usually where you're raised. It's not in your blood. But this is different because I mean he I mean this is also his mother. Like you are much of the culture of your mother. But it's idea, you know, there's the but I understand it a lot. I mean, you know, I have this. I also have stories and discussions of my wife and things like that. I mean, my wife was born in America, but you know, she you know obviously had challenges of being you know the only Asian person around in a very white area, you know, and things like that. So it's like I understand it all. I do, but it's funny how like artist like it always just bothers me with the Chinese stuff, and maybe it's because when living in China, like there was such intense belief that like Chineseness was something like genetic, and I'm just like, ah, oh, God, like it's in your blood. I was like, oh God, all right. So I'm torn on the whole thing. Um, I've not played Do X. This is, but yeah. Um, oh, if I had to cut four POVs, who would I cut? If honestly, if you're talking about like POVs that need to be cut, like I think that the POVs that should be cut are honestly like John number one. I think John needs to go. There's just not enough space. And I think John's story has a nice ending, and it can be that can be that can be it. You know, he can come back to life if you want, but I think like as John as a POV should be done. Um, I don't know if eliminated, but I think Tyrion needs to be scaled back seriously, like quite a bit. Um, but I mean, realistically, like is you know, people would ask like, is Hota necessary? I mean, I'm trying to make Hota in the fanfic. I'm trying to make Hota into something else, into something better. But like the Hota that George has written is Hota worth saving? I don't know if the Hota that George has written so far is worth saving. The two chapters of him. Um, but then after that, it's like, hmm, you know, do you need both Jamie and Brienne? You know, like one of those can one of those be eliminated? Um, because the other character is there to deal with it. Is that, you know? So but I'm trying to think of like the ones that are so essential, or the ones that are just awesome. Like Aaron is awesome, Victarion is awesome, Asha is awesome. Those are great point of views. Like I don't want to lose them, you know. So it's hard. You know, obviously you can't cut Bran. Don't want to cut Sansa. Feels like you can't cut Arya at this point. We're too pot committed. Um, so Barristan, I suppose you'd cut Barristan. Barristan was the one that would be a cut, I think. So, will you write the Dornish master plan in the fanfic? Yeah, it's on its way. It's getting there. Dornish master plan is definitely part of the fanfic. Um, mm, 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 mm. Let's see. Uh, uh, uh. Danny is bilingual, bisexual, and bicoastal. I think she's trilingual, right? She speaks Dothraki, Common, and High Valyrian. She's trilingual. Um, yeah, bicoastal. I guess so. Ironborn accent's got to be Jamaican. Um, I once spent time on this island off the coast of Honduras called Utila, and they had the weirdest accents. They speak even though it's part of Honduras. They on the island they speak English, and it's just like this weird, um, almost Irish. They're like, "Oh, welcome to Utila." It's like almost Irish, Caribbean, pirate together. It was so weird, you know. But it'd be funny. It's funny if like they um Zionism is more like nationalism, I think, in 1980, more like colonialism in 2025. It's someone born there, more nationalism. I mean, in a sense, it's all it's what I'm saying is kind of it's all the same thing, right? It's this fundamental belief that that your ethnicity is superior to another ethnicity, and that you know people of another ethnicity should not be around, and that there needs to be some sort of like purity aspect to it, right? Um, that your ethnicity, that your nation, your ethnicity, your nation, your nationality is superior to somebody else's, and they should they should have a different set of rights, and they should have um, different laws, and they should not be around, and things like that. Um, these weird people. Everybody has their little excuses for why they should have more stuff than somebody else, right? Everybody comes up with their little stories on why it's completely justified that they get more stuff than somebody else. Uganda is amazing. I've been to Uganda. I spent about 3 weeks in Uganda. Um, it's like really, it was a really great time. Really great time. I Uganda. I mean, it was just a fucking fantastically wonderful time, and Ugandans were so great. But I remember my motorbike guy. He was this 18-year-old kid, and he would drive us around, and we found he eventually revealed to us that he was HIV positive. And I later on I remember like we went to this pool on, and I started talking to somebody that worked at an aid organization, and I mentioned like, yeah, the HIV rate's really high here, and my 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 bike guy that's been driving me around, he says he's HIV positive, and he doesn't think he's gonna live like another 5 years. And she's like, my NGO gives away free HIV medicine. Like he just needs to call us. And I like tell him this, and he's like, what? Like, so I gave him all the information. Hopefully he got the help he needed, but it was just like that stuck in my head. Like this kid that like really thought he was gonna die in 5 years, and then all of a sudden was like, what? I don't have to die. Like, but man, I had such a great time in Uganda. Um, oh, who created the metric system in Key's world? Um, I mean, if you finish the book, I mean, this is like I don't want to get into too many spoilers for Ghosts and Indians because most people haven't gotten their copies of Ghosts and Indians yet. But the um, the idea is that maybe they came to the same conclusion as our world, but also because of the dreaming and the interaction between the cultures, um, from different universes, they're going to come to some of the same conclusions anyway because of the links, you know. And this is all like a metaphor for cultures in general on Earth. Like we're all linked. The point of the book obviously is that like one of the big things about Ghosts and Indians is that like it's a fantasy book where most of the fantasy is real life. Like you're exploring this fantastical world where Joshua and Key are traveling from Morocco to Japan, but like, and this is an area of the world that Westerners generally don't know very much about. So as Key and Joshua travel through it, it's like they're traveling through a fantastical world, but they're traveling through the real world. And like when they're talking about like the links of Joshua and Key and the blendedness of their existence. It's speaking about the blendedness of culture on this earth and how we're all connected and blended. Um, but yeah, but who created it? It doesn't matter. It just gets there in the same way. She makes a lot of comments about like things, and about things that that you'd just be like, how did that come about? Well, it came about, maybe because of the link, but also maybe we stole it from them. This is also the idea. Like, who can? And this is also the thing. Like, when a lot of like civilizations are always like, oh, which civilization like invented the airplane? And if you go back and like look at the studies and stuff, it's like people were sharing information. So like, who invented the computer? Well, it wasn't one person. Like, you're talking about all these different pieces of information and pieces of culture and contributions from many people, where it's not one single person. So who created the metric system? That's, who knows? Who knows? Um, mm, 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 mm. They've been fighting 1,000 years. They'll be fighting 1,000 more with Israel Palestine. No, I mean, um, it's actually, this isn't actually very accurate. So it's how one like the thing about the Middle East and Muslim. I mean, if we're talking about the dichotomy between um, Palestinians and Israelis as a Jewish Muslim problem, um, in truth, prior to the 20th century, Muslims and Jews had very few conflicts. Um, Muslims and Jews saw themselves as much more similar to each other than to the Christians, and their main problems was with Christians. And it was the 20th century is the introduction of the main sticking point between you know Jews and Muslims. The Now, if we're talking about the Middle East, has been you know had problems for thousands of years. Yeah, of course, the Middle East has had problems for thousands of years. But one could make the argument that Europe was a place that was a fucking joke of constant wars for thousands of years, right? And then all of a sudden, the wars, for the most part, besides some in Eastern Europe, the wars stopped, and you know, things can change. So it's in many ways, this is the Palestine Israel is a very new problem. It's not something that goes back um, 1,000 years. Now, people generally fighting over the Holy Land, yeah, obviously, but you're talking like different people fighting over the Holy Land, right? Like, um, for the most part, it was Christians and Muslims fighting over the Holy Land for a long time. I mean, I suppose one could make the argument uh, that evangelical Christians are a large part of the problem. So, mm-mm. Muslims have equal rights to Jews in Israel. No, no, they don't. What are you talking about? No, 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 they don't. But even if beyond that, we're not even talking about Muslims and Jews. We're talking about um, uh, Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, or Palestinians in annexed territory in Jerusalem, for example, in East Jerusalem. I mean, things start getting very complicated, but no, they don't have equal rights. Like, you cannot, for instance, there's various like rental and law, like land ownership uh, laws that are Jew only in Israel, that a Muslim cannot participate in. There's you can't marry who you want. You know, Jews and Muslims can't marry each other in Israel. This is like there's also like you can't immigrate there if you're not Jewish, right? That's a huge thing. Like imagine if America, I mean, put it another way, like imagine if America had an immigration law where only white people could immigrate to America. Like you'd immediately be like, huh, there's something wrong with that. Like you somehow think that a different group of people has fewer rights. Now, if we're talking now, if you're eliminating the Muslim aspect and we're talking Palestinians, because Palestinians are both Christian and Muslims, they're Christian Palestinians and Muslim Palestinians. The Jewish Palestinians have all been made into Jewish Israelis and no longer really consider themselves Palestinian, but there were Jewish Palestinians at one time. But the but if we're talking about that, like no, people in the West Bank and Gaza do not have the same rights as people in Israel. Like they don't have a state. They don't have. They can't. There's no freedom of movement. There's so like what are they? They're prisoners in an occupied territory. So like no, there's no what equal rights like. I can like go like honestly like go to the Middle East, man. You just gotta go to the Middle East. Like there's not equal rights, no. Palestinians don't believe in a two-state solution. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like um there's millions of Palestinians. What are you talking about? Like um that they all believe the same thing? What are you fucking talking about? It's like ridiculous, man. It's like these statements like what? Palestinians don't believe this, like replace that with any ethnicity and it would be ridiculous. Like Americans don't believe in underwear. I like some Americans don't believe in underwear. Some Americans do. Like what are you talking about? Americans don't like cornflakes. Well, some Americans like cornflakes. Like what do you fucking what's wrong with you, dude? Like have you like what's wrong with you? Um let's see. Um, if Biden couldn't have gone 8 years, then an argument he wouldn't have gone at all. People don't know. People don't know how fast their 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 wit goes, or how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to know? Um, ever watch Invincible? I watched season 1. I thought it was pretty good. Carmine's always like trying to get me to continue on with the later seasons, saying it's really great, but I just don't have time. There's so many shows to watch. But no, I liked Invincible. I liked Invincible a lot. It's pretty good. Um, the maybe Mance receives visions. They help him become king. Magic saves everything. Also, how do plants survive the long night without sunlight? I mean, the on the latter issue, it's just that we have to believe that um, that the previous society that was advanced, we know that there was a more advanced society in the past on Westeros. You can believe that they were technologically more advanced, or you can believe that they were magically more advanced. It doesn't matter, but clearly there was a more advanced society in the past. Okay, that one where they built Storm's End and they built the wall, and the Valyrian Freehold was doing their shit. Clearly, they were either more technologically or more magically advanced in the past. Regardless, if you're more technologically advanced or more magically advanced, you may have the ability to genetically engineer plant life that it's hardier, that survives multi-year winters and such. Um, you know, and so that's my only guess, is that how do the plants survive? Well, they're just hardier. They that's it. They, and the mushrooms underground are more nutritious and things like that. As for Mance receiving visions, that does help. That helps on the Mance side, but you also need to have that communication on the Wyman Manderley side, right? So you'd need both Manderley and Mance receiving visions in order to make it work out, for him to like find Manderley and get into his party and sneak into Winterfell together. So that's kind of the thing. So it'd have to be like multiple visions. One North Carolina poll right before the election showed Kamala up 1, but Trump by 5 on econ in the Middle East, and a question that was basically honesty. Trump by 5 on honesty. How were we even slightly optimistic? People are just, I mean, people have these vibe things. Like somehow, like people think that like someone being an asshole is them speaking, is them not holding back, and therefore them being honest. Because like when you go into a room and you're polite to somebody, like being polite is lying, right? Because you want to be like, you're ugly, like, well, that's very honest, but it's also very fucking rude, right? So the word honesty, like, what does it fucking mean? And also, people are just fucking crazy, and I'm not going to justify, like, I'm not going to get into these Americans' heads because they're just fucking stupid. Okay, like they're fucking stupid, and they have short memories, and they're they somehow forget like how horrible term 1 was of Trump, and now it's like, oh my god, it's 100 times worse term 2. And so I'm like getting in the minds of these fucking idiots that thought that somehow like Trump was honest and that he would do better economically. People don't understand economics, so they just kind of default to like, well, Republicans are good for business. But even though the economy always does better under Democrats, the Democrats have always done better on economics. So like, I can't get into these people's heads and kind of understand it all. Like they're just fucking, at some point you just like, yeah, they're fucking idiots. They're fucking idiots. But I mean, if you go, generally speaking, on a global scale, people have been trying to vote out the party in power. Like some people just reduce it to, it was nothing. It was just people wanted change, and everywhere on Earth, everyone was voting for change, and they wanted change. I don't know why, but globally, everybody has wanted it. So, they, Trump eked out a victory. Because I mean, like, you can go, and every country was like throwing out their party in power. Okay. Ha ha ha. Asha's already down. I could offer up my fair young body, wayward bride, but it's all Stan the Man getting it up. Uh, I mean, I don't know if Stan the Man has a problem getting it up. I mean, he's able to bang Melisandre, right? Um, yeah, I mean, I guess Stannis would probably bang Asha, but you know, everybody's perception of Stannis is different, so she probably wouldn't even like try it, even though, like clearly Stannis isn't attracted to Selyse, but who knows? Who knows what's going on in Stannis's head? Um, I know timelines don't really matter because George, but most of them have Mance being sent south a good month and a half or so before the summons to Barrington goes out, enough time to pre-plan with Manderlys. So, all right, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. So, all right. So let's see. Let's get my Mance. Get my Mance back at the wall. And then we get our Manderly. Get our Manderly here at White Harbor. And we get our Umbers. Okay, back at Last Hearth. Okay. And what? We go to the timeline. The fan made timeline. Okay. So I was looking at the timeline. Originally, I was going to look into whether or not how ridiculous it was to sail the ship to the wall that fast, and it wasn't really very ridiculous. I don't think it even needed. It didn't even need the sacrifice to justify it, because George does trips, like Tyrion gets across from King's Landing to Bravos in like a week, and it's like, well, if you can do that in a week, then you can fucking get to the wall in 3 weeks. That's fine. Okay. So Stannis should be, so he have Mance being sent out, according to this timeline, on 4/18, April 18th. Okay. And then we've got, if he leaves April 18th, and remember, it's a 3-week trip to Winterfell. And it's winter, but even like Jon took 3 weeks to get to do a wall to fell, but like it's winter. It should be slower, but whatever. Let's say he goes fast, but nonetheless. So the problem is that even if he leaves, they're already at Barrowton, right? They send the message from Barrowton. And Manderly is at Barrowton when Mance leaves on April 18th. Let's say this is correct, April 18th. And so he gets to, what are we talking here? Probably what, Prince of Winterfell would probably be the, because it's only like 2 weeks. Where is it? Week 3. Okay. Okay, so the Manderlys make it to Barrowton. This claims 6/2. That's weird because the timeline is placing... No, that doesn't make any sense because... So the fan-made timeline is taking things out of order. It's placing Melisandre chapter way before the Reek chapters, and that's not how things are printed. Because in the printed book, we've got Melisandre chapter, which is when Mance leaves, happening chapter 31. And they're claiming that this is happening a couple months before, well, at least a month and a half before Reek 2. So they're claiming that Melisandre is actually taking place like way back. But it can't, Melisandre has to happen around the same time as Davos 4, which it does in the order here. They place Melisandre 1 right after Davos 4. But these two are happening around the same time. And then Reek 3, they change their minds on where they're going. Okay, but say he leaves like... See, they're trying to make it out. They're trying to make it work out, and but we know that's just not when the invitations are sent. So okay, they're at Barrington. This is Manderley spends fine. Let's say Manderley spends like 3 weeks to get to Barrington, but Mance and Manderley are leaving around the same time because they get their invitations around the same time. So like Mance might be here and he might be chilling out with the Umbers for a while, but Manderley's already left. Manderley takes a long time, a purposely long time to get to Barrington. And then they what it says here that they get to Barrington. They leave Barrington at like June 2nd. And then Prince of Winterfell. See, this is how ridiculous. So they have Prince of Winterfell happening on 6/14. That somehow it's only like 2 weeks, to all of a sudden go to Winterfell. And then Mance all of a sudden at this point would be like, oh shit, they changed their minds. It's not Barrington, it's Winterfell. And he'd be going, if he's hanging at Last Hearth, he would go at the same time as Manderley, get ahead and come in. But like, how are they coordinating that? Unless he's, how like what Raven traffic is going on between Manderley at Barrington and the Umbers. Like you'd need to have Lady Dustin in on the conspiracy. You need to have Lady Dustin in on the conspiracy, and I don't think Lady Dustin is. Like, you'd have to have her like Ravens back and forth, coordinating this whole thing. Like, fuck. They leave pretty quick after Manderley arrives. I don't know. Maybe they're waiting 18 days for Ramsay to come back from the hunt. You'd need at least the Dustin Maester to be in on it, because how are they doing that communication back and forth? You'd have to have either Lady Dustin or the Dustin Maester to be in on the conspiracy, to be making the communication between Manderley and Umber. I mean, I think there's plenty of time for Mance has plenty of time. Mance has plenty of time because Manderley takes forever to get to Barrington. So Mance has a lot of time to get anywhere he wants. But it's the communication. It's the communication that makes it really hard. Hey Preston, thanks for making so many great videos. Make theory vids. Send me down a rabbit hole. Any updates on Winds of Winter or same as usual? On George's Winds of Winter, no, he hasn't given us an update in a couple of years. The last time he gave us an update, he said he had about 1,100 pages, 1,200 pages. He said that the book is going to be the biggest book yet, meaning it's going to be at minimum 1,500 manuscript pages, because that's how big Storm and Dance were. So, or he's made statements that maybe he's 3/4 done. So he's expecting, like, if he has 1,200 pages, he'd be expecting an 1,800 page book. If he has 1,100 pages, maybe he'd be expecting, a 1,600 page book or something. But he's 2 years ago, he's made the statement that it's about 3/4 done of a book the size of of A Dance with Dragons or A Storm of Swords. And he's been very, very busy with other projects. And he doesn't seem like he's in the mode of writing. Like, he's back he was doing interviews for In the Lost Lands. He's talking about Dunk and Egg a lot. He's still trying to produce short movies. But I don't know. And whenever the book comes up, he just kind of says, "Oh, it's a big book, and hopefully, I don't know if I'll get to it or not." Now, as for the fanfic, we're continuing along, and I think Asha should be out in a couple weeks, and we are about We are a little over if our book is again the size of A Dance with Dragons, A Storm of Swords, we're about a third done or so. But you know, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be that long. We'll see. We'll see. It doesn't have to be that long. So I don't know. But we're still years away here. But yeah, with the Winds of Winter, yeah, there's George hasn't had any updates in about 2 years. So things haven't changed. You know, maybe he's been secretly working on it and it's close to done. I don't know, but probably not. Um, hmm. Hmm. Some online append their theories by saying it's very George to stave off criticism. Can you please tell them to stop? Also, do you think the ending of Game of Thrones was very George? Huh. I don't know if it's very George to stave off criticisms. I don't know. I mean, George is hmm, like from other people. Um, oh, or they give out a theory and then they say, "Oh, don't criticize me because it's not very George to accept criticism." George is very critical of himself. He's very critical of other things. Um, he can be nice. He can be very critical. Like he was really into Battlestar Galactica, and then he got to the ending and he had a blistering review and saying that he hated it. Um, and then there's other things that he really likes that he says he really likes. So I mean, he's if he doesn't like something or if he has criticism of something, he usually tells people he has criticism of it. And then there's certain things he has criticism of that he would probably love to say more, but he gets in contract problems with or something with regards to House of the Dragon and stuff, where he has to keep his mouth shut. So I don't know. I mean, George criticizes lots of things. People criticize him all the time. Um, I don't know. Criticism is all over the place. I don't know about that. But was the ending of Game of Thrones very George? Yeah. There was great going through puberty on that one. Yeah, I think it's very George in this like if you were just to take a Game of Thrones as a single book, um, and it would imagining that it had no sequels. Yes, it's very George in that there's this ambiguous, beautiful ending, talking about song, talking about rebirth, where not all your questions are answered. Um, Character is left, you're left wondering what's going to happen to the character. Um, Absolutely. It's like here. Let me see if I have this one around. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I'm looking up. Oh, I can open up my dream songs. Let's see if I can get this up. And cannot open. Come on. Come on. This one? Open for me. It's funny because people say, like, I'll say it a lot sometimes when when we're talking, we're like, oh, that's such a George ending. And it's like George has very different types of endings, but in some ways they're all very similar, and that an ending needs to have, his endings need to have a gut punch of some sort, whether it be a beautiful gut punch or a sad gut punch. But it needs to have something where you definitely just like feel it. Like you have to have like this visceral like feeling. Oh, I can't get my dream songs to open right now. I was gonna open Men of Greywater Station, and which is like the character is sitting on this like pile of rubble and like looking up at the stars, like knowing that he's probably going to get taken over by a mind controlling mold. But it's like it's still like a very beautiful ending, and in many ways it's kind of the same as like Daenerys's ending in A Game of Thrones, even though Daenerys is one of hope and all of this. But there's a poetic, beautiful painting at the end that he kind of always creates too. So I don't know how to quite describe it. I would have to really think about it concisely. Like, what is a George R. Martin ending? It's like some sort of like somewhat ambiguous, emotional gut punch that like makes you wonder and think about the future. You know, he doesn't have all the answers. He doesn't answer all the questions. He doesn't. It's more about feeling and emotion, and again, like he does when he says like he's interested in the human heart and conflict. Like he is like there's you know an emotion. He's very interested in capturing the feeling of an emotion. In an ending, rather than just being like, you know, and then all the characters lived happily ever after, and then they had, you know, and this is what happened to their children, and you know, you're not going to have like a Lord of the Rings kind of ending or a Harry Potter kind of ending, like this, and this is what happens to them, you know, like no, I don't know. In Game of Thrones, Tyrion recalls seeing the dragon skulls and says some were 3,000 years old. Is that a retcon? Really? He says that? I have to look. I have to check on that. Let's see here. Yes, you're right. Oh man, that's quite a retcon. And I thank you for bringing this up, Josh, because I was thinking about doing a video on the craziest retcons that exist in Ice and Fire, like no werewood south of the neck and things like this. But this is this is this is exactly what I was talking about. And thank you for bringing this to my attention. There were 19 skulls. The oldest was more than 3,000 years old, the youngest a mere century and a half. The most recent were also the smallest. 3,000 years old. Yeah. I suppose that's retcon to more than 300 years old, but even that, because isn't the skull would be like 400. Balerion the Black Dread. I mean, we don't really know how old he was, but he wasn't 3,000 years old. Because they're always talking about Vagar being. We know that Vagar was supposedly old, right? By the time he died, and everybody talked about him being or her being an old dragon, and she was born on Dragonstone, so we know like, you know, Vagar wasn't that old. Balerion the Black Dread, I suppose you could make the argument that since he came from Valyria, that he could be possibly be 3,000 years old, but nobody talks about that. Nobody says that they would live that long. But yeah, definite retcon that he's 3,000 years old. That Balerion the Black Dread was 3,000 years old. Jesus, that that is quite the retcon. We are not in that continuity anymore. No, 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 no. But yes, I think you're supposed to somehow think it's 300 or 400, because the skull would be about 400 years old or 500 years old if we're going with like Balerion the Black, the age of the skull, because it's not even the age of Balerion when he died. It's like the age of the skull. Um, mm, mm, mm. Well, Cersei abstained from the D, like from the dick. No, she loves no. Um, does Trump have a problem with Ireland? I haven't read anything about Ireland. I think there was something about he hates the stand-up comedian woman that moved there recently. He, uh, Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell moved there recently because she was like, "I'm done." A false spring would also let Danny's armies cross. What's funny about like the weather? I mean, the 5 year gap that George had planned for a 5 year autumn, and he's just like, just go 5 year autumn, like. But why would Stannis be chilling at the wall for 5 years? Yeah, um, yeah, but yeah, to let her armies cross. I mean, I guess the idea is if that it's warm in the south, she can get on boats and head down. But you're right that it's getting cold in Dragonstone. It's already snowing in King's Landing. It's snowing on Dragonstone. It'd be better, logically speaking. Like we kind of know that Danny is going to go to Dragonstone because Rhaenyra, parallel to Rhaenyra, and the show did it. But like in George's head, but logically speaking, like why would you take your armies up into a a wintry environment when you can land in Dorne or in the Stormlands or something like that. Um, wait, wait, bro. So you agree that capitalism is good, but you don't like libertarians. So, um, so here's this big misunderstanding here. Okay, Adam Smith was very much into government intervention. Government intervention is essential for capitalism to function. It does very important things like fixes broken markets, breaks up monopolies. Um, you know, government is essential for capitalism to continue. Like that's so. This idea that that somehow getting rid of government is somehow pro capitalism. No, no. What I'm saying is I want markets to work as efficiently as possible. I don't want things to develop into monopolies or cronyism. What I don't like is, like I often say, like people have this. A lot of people think that the problem is capitalism. I'm like, well, no one's given capitalism a try. Everyone keeps going on cronyism. There's always just cronies here and cronies there. You know, tariff on this sector, but not this sector. Oh, tax break for this sector and that not this sector. Like no one's letting the free markets happen. No one's ever let the free markets happen. Um, and then and not all sectors need free markets because capitalism fails on certain markets. So, like for instance, health insurance, I think, is a failed market. You know, so I don't see how I don't see the jump here. Like libertarianism is just chaos. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like libertarians are idiots. Um, like on the very basic sense of like, if you ask a libertarian, how do homes get their deeds? their brain breaks because they can't fucking figure it out. So like Adam Smith believed in government. He believed in significant government intervention. Somehow over time, people have made like the laissez-faire capitalism into something that it's just not, like that Adam Smith never believed. And so it's really quite sad. Like Adam's, it's too bad. It's too bad. Like people have like twisted what he said and what he believed. That Adam Smith only ever said that frequently the market leads to the most efficient outcome. He never even said most of the time, and he certainly never said all the time. He only said frequently. Like that's how conservative, small c, in a not a political sense, like he was with like his beliefs and his writing. He believed things like that all workers should be given the basics needed to enter the workforce. And at the time he was talking about it in terms of like shoes and a button-up shirt. But today you could argue that it means like, a computer for everybody and access to the internet and things like that. So like you got, that was the state's like role in doing that, to make the market more efficient, to provide everyone with the basic needs to enter the marketplace. So like Adam Smith, like he was actually a really great writer and had thought of all these things and all of the problems that we have today. He wrote about, like, he was very fearful that people with too much money and power would then buy elections and then start controlling the markets the way that would advantage their industries. Like he talks about this in Wealth of Nations. It's he was no idiot. Like, so like I think when people talk about laissez-faire capitalism or their hatred of capitalism, what they mean is they hate cronyism, and they somehow think that like laissez-faire, like they just want government from intervening in their sectors because they think that they can make more money in some sort of like chaos system where they can push their negative externalities on everybody else. So, but yeah, no, capitalism, I would say libertarianism and capitalism go against each other. That you're talking about destruction of capitalism if you're in a libertarian system, because capitalism requires government regulations, intervention, oversight. And Adam Smith believed that wholeheartedly. So, that's where I am with him. Who's DJ Crazy Times? There's a YouTube video. It's pretty funny. DJ Crazy Times. Sometime you should watch. It's called Planet of the Bass. I mean, it's kind of one joke. The joke is that like this guy doesn't know, him and the woman singing, like they don't know English very well, and so they make like little linguistic problems where he's like instead of what does it mean, they're like, how does it mean? They're like that kind of thing. So the whole song is like them making like small, like you can understand most of the song. It's a little silly, but like they're making all of the little English as a second language mistakes, like clapping the hands and stuff like that. That's DJ Crazy Times. It's an American comedian pretending, but at the beginning he's like Bratislava. So like From the left, what is the liberal plan for reversing the capture of our democracy by capital? I don't see how capitalism can be reformed. I mean, progressive tax structure. Like that's what it is. Like a progressive tax structure takes capital from the rich and redistributes it to the poor through social programs. Like that's how it's done. Like it's pretty basic. It's how nearly every society on Earth like functions. It's so like you know you and I would argue that you need more taxes on that. You need a more progressive tax structure. The idea is that the more money you earn, the higher tax rate you get charged, and then that money is redistributed to everybody else through social programs. Public schools, roads, you know, welfare, unemployment, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Like that's the idea. Um, and so, I mean, if at the right rate, things end up being stable. Like, but we're clearly not at that rate. Like our growth in billionaires is off the chart, and single individual billionaires can cause great instability to our society because they're fucking nuts. They can be nuts. Um, no one the idea is that we should have a system that's stable enough that like no one person, no small group of people can destabilize it. So we shouldn't like we're at this point where now it's very dangerous that individuals can have so much money, because they do destabilizing things like by elections and fucking fire hundreds of thousands of people. Like that's crazy that single individuals can have that. So the idea is that they should be taxed much more, and that to the point where there shouldn't be billionaires, and that it should be redistributed. But yeah, it's just a progressive tax structure. That's it. That's pretty much the liberal plan. And the Republican plan, the conservative plan is less like progressive tax structure, making it more regressive, make it so that things get more destabilized easier. So but there's nothing like fantastically like ingenious about like liberalism. It's just like, yeah, rich people should pay more taxes and we should have social programs like like, and like you're talking about like shifting the scale a little, like, oh, maybe we should inch that up a little here, inch funding for this program up here, see how it goes. It's how societies work. um I think Rickon's been chilling at White Harbor for a while. It's been months since Davos left and Moors arrived at Winterfell with no info from an interrogated Asha, from interrogated Osha, with info from an interrogated Osha. Certainly a possibility. As I say, if you're the Davos disappears at about the third point of the book, and Moore's Umber. Theon escapes Winterfell at about the 2/3 point, or I'm sorry, the hooded man arrives at about the 2/3. But there's not that much difference between the hooded man and the escape. It's like another week or something, a few days. So it's not that big a deal. Because there's a month-long break in between Turncloak and Ghost of Winterfell. So yeah, I mean, it could very well be that Rickon's chilling at White Harbor or at Last Hearth or wherever. That's how we're writing it in the fanfic, that they go off and Davos has further adventures in Skagos after they leave in order to catch him up to the rest of the story. Yeah. What does it mean when the rhythm is glad? There is nothing to be sad. Volume is low. Watched weird theory that Mance is positioning self for Aegon conquest. Yeah, I've been hearing this. People have been bringing this up in the past few streams about how much Stannis or Mance might know about Aegon's conquest and things like that. Um, I don't know. I mean, uh, how like how would they find out about it? Things like that. Um, how's the information get to them through? Because John Con is keeping it a big secret, and then they're on the boat, and people don't really know that. I mean, the Golden Company breaks their contract, I suppose, but like, when does everybody hear about the contract being broken? Um, Stannis seems to think he can hire the Golden Company, so Stannis doesn't seem to know. Mance, I mean, unless he's getting visions or something. But what is Mance doing to position himself for the Aegon conquest? Hiding in the crypts of Winterfell for everything to get burned, and then come out and be like, "Yo, it's me, Mance." So I don't know if we see any evidence of that. It'd be interesting, but yeah. Um, do you think Syrio is a Varys agent and that's how he got to King's Landing? If still alive, he'd be the last witness to the pact between Dorne and the Sea Lord. If he was first sword at the time, maybe Varys is hiding him since the arrest. Um, so Syrio came at recommendation of someone. I imagine Van Poole, and he only chose him because she had a thin sword. So he was like, I guess I'll choose an instructor that has a similar sword style to the sword that's been made for her. Like that's the only reason he was chosen that for that style. Um, Now, the coincidence that he's from Bravos and Arya ends up in Bravos, it's probably like George knew that he wanted to get Arya to Bravos, and so he created like a first Bravos and a character, and then wrote, and that didn't work out, and then he had a second Bravos character to get her there. In fact, he doesn't even get the second Bravos. It's by chance, right? She just finds a ship, you know. Um, that gets her there. And I talk about this being similar to like the end world religious fanatics that are mentioned in Clash of Kings that disappear from the story, and then later religious fanatics show up with the sparrows. And it's like clearly George wanted to get somewhere, and he was like putting seeds, and and then puts another seed later. So I think Syrio is much like that. That him being from Bravos is that. But like, could he be a Varys agent? I mean, I don't know if I mean, we have no evidence that Syrio is not dead. Like he seems like I don't know how he would have survived, but he seems to have been killed. He wasn't trying to collect any information. He wasn't trying to instill much in information. Um, if he's a witness between Dorne and the Sea Lord, um, well, it's not the pact between them. It's the Sea Lord was a witness to the pact between Viserys, William Barry, and the Dornish, right? Um, but I'm trying to think if the timeline works out, because let's see here. Syrio Forel. Because is like which Sea Lord is it? Days that he was first. And if he was first sword, when did he stop being first sword? Because Caro Valentin is the current Sea Lord, is the current first sword. Did he get fired from being first sword? And is it the same Sea Lord as, the 1 years ago? I mean, we have no. I just don't think we have any way of knowing if we have no way of knowing if it's the same Sea Lord, if Syrio was there at the time, or if it's relevant that Syrio witnesses it. I mean, the pact. Like, would we need a second witness? I suppose. I mean, the Sea Lord isn't dead yet, right? Even if we're assuming it's the same Sea Lord, do we need another witness? Does anyone not believe the pact exists? Does anyone think that the pact that it's that's a forgery? I mean, it could be a forgery, but if it's a forgery, then do we need Syrio to tell the story? Huh. I have to think about like what we'd need him to say that was a lie. Like, no, I remember he came and they never made an agreement. Viserys said, no, this is a bad agreement. I don't want to take it. I get nothing out of it. I have to marry this girl and you don't give me anything. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just thinking. I mean, I don't think there's any evidence of Varys, but like, I think it's an interesting concept that Syrio could have been there, like knowing Willem Darry and things like that, like meeting Willem Darry and everybody. That I find is fascinating, is thinking that maybe Syrio could have been alive back then as first sword and everything. So maybe to think about that. That might be a fun little thing. But we'd have to have Syrio be alive. How are we gonna get Syrio back? Where has he been hiding? Has he been hiding in the walls the whole time? Syrio been in there too? Do they just? I mean, is the walls inside of like King's Landing? Or is it like an Encanto where they just have like, they've been Varys and Syrio have been doing like mouse soap operas with each other and like stealing food. Watch Sam Cedar and versus 31 MAGA made me super hopeful. I mean, it made me really sad about the world. I mean, Sam Cedar did a really good job, obviously, even though he was really down on himself. But man, those MAGA were insanely stupid. Oh my god. I mean, I imagine it like it's just the guy who thought government agencies paid taxes and like the woman that wanted to be xenophobic and stuff like that, like who thought xenophobia was a legitimate mindset. Crazy. The Dream and Danny 9, is that evil Danny? That's the one, that's her going down the hallway, right? Reaching for the door. I don't know what's evil about that one. there's other Danny dreams that I could point to where she seems more evil than that. But you're talking about waking the dragon, right? Um, the sun is out. Her dream came back. Sudden, she remembered a tall man with copper skin, long silver gold blade bursting into flames. Um, she wept at her dreams, and her tears turned to steam on her cheeks. All of her grief had burned out of me, she told herself. She felt sad. I mean, this is where she feels um, like with the death of Rhaego, that she's just kind of like done with emotion, and she's not feeling sad anymore. She's just feeling like almost catatonic. Um, I mean, I don't know what the evil Danny foreshadowing. I think I think you know maybe you get evil Danny in a Storm of Swords. I don't know if she does too much that's evil. I mean, I suppose burning Miri Mazdur alive is kind of evil. I suppose there's that. I suppose we could look at that as evil foreshadowing. I think there's that. Yeah. Is there a disconnect online versus the real world? Well, I mean, absolutely. Here's the thing: is it's what people run into online, and maybe it's an idea of youth, but when you're normally young and you have dumb ideas, and you're isolated, or you talk to teachers or adults who tell you about different ideas or books. Now you can have a stupid idea, and you're going to find somebody else with that exact same stupid idea that reinforces your stupid idea. It's so easy to find like-minded people that make you believe there's nothing wrong with how you are exactly at this moment, and you have no need to change and grow. And so that's a bit weird. It's also like the priorities, the fact that like the internet, like YouTube, for example, like that these guys will have video after video about Snow White or something, and you're just like, oh my god, what is wrong with you? Like, that's not the real fucking world. Like, no one fucking cares. No one, like, the number one issue on this earth is not Snow White, like, or Blake Lively, or any of these like weird little fringe things that people spend their time watching. You just you'd never have that without the internet. People just like caught in these like stupid rabbit holes, like obsessing over whether or not Princess Peach is girl power, and like molding someone into a sexist based on Princess Peach. It's just such a weird world we live in with the internet. So I don't know. I mean, then again, maybe before everyone would just be trapped on a farm, like live in their farm mentality over and over again, only exposed to church and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, the people you meet online are not the people you're going to meet in real life. Just because generally speaking, like, you tend to collect around people like yourself. And how often do guys like learn about women online? Like, truly, I'm not talking about learning, I'm not talking about watching porn. I'm talking about like, how often do men like learn about women online? No, they collect with other men and they talk about men stuff. Men talking about women wrongly, women talking about men wrongly, people not understanding each other. That's why, like, Jesus Christ, like, that's why college dorms are so fucking awesome, right? Like, you're forced into this group, and it's just like a whole bunch of people from different places all talking until 3 a.m. So it's fucking, or the workplace. You meet people, and you're in an office, and you have to do a project, and this is a type of person you've never met before. So, try to get. Will there be a stalemate in Westeros after Aegon takes King's Landing? Can Aegon and the Dornish take on the Vale or Reach or Stannis? I don't see them bending the knee. Well, I think the idea is that that for whatever reason, most people are going to probably cave to Aegon. That Aegon is going to be this big uniting force. And then Dany's going to come in, and then we're going to have a second Dance of the Dragons, right? And so it's like, it's not just Aegon and the Dornish. It might be that Aegon gets the Vale right away, and everybody just kind of immediately caves because he's going to be fighting Dany, Yes, Cersei isn't going to be for him, but Cersei might have lose all her power and run off to the Westerlands and kind of be quiet while Aegon takes over and fights Dany. And then once Dany wins, then we have a new situation. But I think it's going to be more like that. But as for Stannis, I mean, Stannis is never getting south again. Come on. He's either going to get killed by Ramsay, or he's going to get killed by the Weeper, or he's going to get killed by the others. Like, one of those things is happening. Stannis is not, like, what's happening north of the Neck doesn't affect everybody else. Like, they're just in the middle of a big snowstorm, and it's just going to be their own fucking problem up there. But yeah, no, you don't really have to worry about, no one's worried. It's almost a separate world, right? What's going on north of the Neck now? Like, no, it's all snowing. No one can get up there. It takes too long. It's wildlings and others and Ramsay, so. Planetos is a Dyson sphere orbiting another star. Let me think about that for a second. So they're on the interior of the Dyson sphere. And they're on the interior of the Dyson sphere, and the second star is needed to affect the seasons and make the seasons weird, but to protect it from like overheating. But I don't know how that would work. Because if you're on the interior of the Dyson sphere, you'd see the Earth go up. You wouldn't disappear over the horizon. We know that they're on around Earth because Euron specifically hides behind the horizon before attacking the Shield Islands. So they're at least on a regular sphere. But if Planetos is on the Dyson sphere, what do you mean? Like the star is on the inside? But then what's the point of the star being in the Earth's center? Yeah, no. No. Where would an island of ravens? Probably how Bloodraven get info from all over Westeros. Oh, I see. Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm understanding. Okay. Okay. Um. trying to make sure that that's where the werewood is. Right? Is that where it is? Because the ravens watching the battlement, the ancient werewood filled the yard. Growing over purple moth. Okay. I suppose that makes some sense. Okay, so if the ravens, you're saying the ravens, that werewood he's watching, all the ravens come in, send their messages. He'd have to be able to like read them from afar, right? Because he has to like the maester would like take out the piece of paper, and he'd have to be like pew, like laser eyes from that werewood right onto the message. If he can do if he can do like laser eyesight from the werewood, like into the rookery where they're like looking at the messages, I could see that. But then the wall is a time loop jump point. Bloodraven's cave is over a cave, but in the future, land of always winter of the fronts at sea. I mean, I've theorized that the back door to Bloodraven's cave is like the jump point where he like keeps falling and achieves that moment of weightlessness that allows him to all of a sudden time travel. But I'm trying to think if like if thought in a different way, if the wall is a time loop jump point, this is like they're in the future. Oh, so every time you pass by the wall, you're going through time travel, and you're entering a different place at a different time. Either crossing it. I'm trying to think. The problem is that Hardhome, like they actually send ships to Hardhome, right? So like you can sail beyond the wall and not do not travel through time. But all right, let's try to get to the end so I can go to sleep. Damp down. Did you see Trump's statements about running for a third term? Yeah, it's he's fucking nuts. First of all, like don't get me wrong, like Trump is causing irreversible harm to America, is destroying it, and the MAGA movement is going to continue on because these people exist and these idiots exist, and they're going to continue on. Do I think Trump would be able to be elected for a third term or rig the system for a third term? No. I think he's right now he's incredibly unpopular. Things are falling apart in America. And he's close to dying. Like his brain is gone. Have you seen him in interviews? He's fucking gone. He's just gone. It's very clear he's not running the country. It's very clear that like through the Signal app thing that Stephen Miller seems to be running things. Like when people are like, what does Trump mean by this? And Stephen Miller's like, this is what he means. Like it's very clear that Trump doesn't fucking know what's going on. So like, yeah, he makes these statements to like be in the media. He makes these statements because maybe he believes them. he likes to shock people. He likes to cause. They like to own the libs and but his like it's unconstitutional. Do I even think that his bought off Supreme Court would allow him a third term? No, I don't. But even if they did, like his brain is so fucking gone. He can't do it anymore. For a third term, like yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's like as bad and pessimistic as I am about America. Like, yeah, I just don't see it happening. I don't see a third term happening. Um, um, let's try to get I feel like the Twins is the wall of the South. I love if Walder Frey lives forever, but if the North Wall comes down, it seems to fit that the South goes down as well, or that the Freys who stop the others. Unfortunately, I don't know if the Twins really make that much sense. So let me show you. I mean, I like this. Like, people talk about like, oh, do you think that the Twins bridge is going to collapse and all of this stuff? And you're like, okay, well, that's a fun idea. This massive bridge getting destroyed, right? The problem is when you actually look at the Twins. Yeah, the Twins really shouldn't be that important. So this is this river, and it's look. The Twins was really important for talking about the Battle of River Run and getting Robb Stark's forces down from the north. But if you're really talking about another invasion and the Twins being vital and important, they're just not. You can take the King's Road all the way fucking down and cross at Lord Haraway's town or the inn at the crossroads. And that crossing is what's important. Like, who fucking cares what's over here? This like tiny little part of the Riverlands. Like, yeah, if you're in Seaguard, it's really fucking important that the Twins exist, you know? But everybody else, like, why would you fucking care about this bridge? It's not that important of a bridge. Like besides Jason Mallister, who fucking cares about the Twins? Or if you have a very specific Robb Stark war plan that happens to work in a Westerland versus North war happening in the Riverlands, yeah, it's really convenient, this twin bridge. But like, at no other point is the Twins bridge like essential to anything. The others would march right down the King's Road and not need it, like not need the Twins at all. Twins are just not needed. It's essentially they essentially exist for Northerners to go to River Run. That's and have battles in the Whispering Wood. That is it. It's just not important. It's just not important. Like, the others wouldn't need it. They just go down the King's Road. Anyway. Oh yeah, the fan timeline has errors. 6:14 Ramsay's wedding. 6:16 Stannis begins his march, but Roose announced Stannis is marching during the wedding feast. Yeah, absolutely. There's I've examined. So I did a video on the timing of the stab. It's probably a video I did the most research for. That is one of my worst videos because it's just incomprehensible to listen to. Like, it's embarrassing to even like I look at it now and I'm just like, oh my God, how would anyone understand what I'm talking about here? It's a horrible video. But for that video, I studied this time period very closely, and yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Like, what you can you know, they announce that they want they announce, so they're at Barrowton and they announce that they're going to Winterfell because they want Stannis to march to Winterfell as well. But they need to know that they're going to get there first, or else it doesn't make any sense, right? So they announce that they're going to do it at Winterfell to force Stannis's march. So Stannis's march should be a little bit after Ramsay's march. And then, figuring that Ramsay figuring that they would get there like a few days before Stannis, based on the distances. But then the storm hits and Stannis takes fucking forever, and they're all starving. So yeah, the fan timeline has a lot of mistakes, but they do their best. It's not bad. I mean, considering it's an incredible achievement for what it is. But yeah. Yeah, exactly. Barbara Justin. I don't see Barbara Justin being in on the conspiracy. As or if she did, it sounds like she would change, like at Winterfell, seeing like the treatment of Jane Poole or something. I'm curious if there's any chance that Lady Stoneheart is pregnant from Ned. Well, the last time they have sex is in Littlefinger's brothel. And from then on, let's see, I want to say that's sometime in the year 298. And I'm trying to think, like, Clash of Kings is about 6 months, and A Storm of Swords is about 4 months. But I'm trying to think, maybe you're saying, like, if she died at the Red Wedding, would her fetus be like dead with her and be undead with her at that point? Let's see what the fans think about this timeline. So we're talking about Ned. I mean, definitely not if you're talking about Cat thinking about being pregnant and talking about Ned's semen and Catelyn too. Like, definitely not from that. That's way too early. But I'm trying to think if she, and obviously her belly doesn't grow and she doesn't think about being pregnant at any time. So let's see here. So there's obviously that. But I'm just saying, is it more than 9 months from their sex at Littlefinger's brothel to okay, so the hands tourney, fans kind of put the hands tourney at September 22nd, which means Kat is already gone by then, because she sees people heading to the hands tourney that we see at the hands tourney that she meets at the end of the crossroads. So sometime in September. And so let's see. 9 months later, we're still kind of in a Clash of Kings. So I don't think there's any chance of her still being pregnant from the last time she saw Ned. I'm sorry. Like, even, I mean, if we're talking like a year and a half pregnancy or something, but no, there's just no chance. There's no chance that she makes it to the Red Wedding, pregnant with Ned's child. I'm sorry. Regarding the dragon skulls, isn't it lore that dragons existed before the Targaryens in Westeros? Maybe the Targs were collectors. Also, 20,000 men for the North seems low. Um, let's see. On the dragon skulls, yes, there are various stories of dragons being in Westeros um, before the Targaryen dragons. I mean, we have the story of Florian the Fool. Florian fights a dragon. We have the story of Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. Serwyn fights a dragon. We have the story of like Sea Dragon Point and things like this, like and these kind of things. So yes, there are stories about dragons in Westeros before the Targaryen dragons. Absolutely. So the idea is that it could one of the dragon skulls be a Westerosi dragon. Uh well, it's never brought up, like, because I think if you count the dragons, because he says there's 19 skulls, and it's like if you start counting the dragons of the dance and stuff, could you get to that? Could you get to that number? I don't know, because then it's like, well, which skulls are missing, and which ones um a 3,000-year-old skull, like, could there be a skull down there from an ancient dragon that they found that was not part of the collection? That was and it doesn't have to be the biggest, because it just has to be the oldest. This is it's an interesting idea of what if a non-Targaryen dragon skull was thrown into the collection. What are the words that Tyrion says again here? Does he say that they're Targaryen? So Tyrion does say, see, he says there were 19 skulls, the oldest more than 3,000 years old, the youngest a mere century and a half. The most recent were also the smallest, a matched pair no bigger than a mastiff skull, and oddly misshapen. All that remained of the last two hatchlings born on Dragonstone. They were the last of the Targaryen dragons, perhaps the last dragons anywhere, and they had not lived very long. Okay, so that only says that the hatchlings were Targaryen. From there, the skulls ranged upward in size to the three great monsters of song and story. Valyrian, Meraxes, and Vhagar. The greatest of them, Valyrian. Like, technically speaking, is there anything in there that says that the oldest has to be the biggest? And technically, is there anything in there that says that all of the skulls are Targaryen? I mean, obviously, this is a retcon and a mistake, right? Obviously. But I'm saying, like, can it be salvaged that actually an old dragon skull was thrown in there, and there's actually a 3,000-year-old dragon skull stuck, like, in the collection? Yeah, I mean, I think you could like, obviously this wasn't George's intention, but I think you might be able to get it to work. That there is an older skull thrown into the collection that's not a Targaryen. Yeah. Hmm. Um, who's worse, Musk or Trump? Um, the let's. I'm trying to think about that one. Um, I think Musk might be more. Well, here's the thing: is Musk doesn't have the charisma, and people don't like follow him, so he's not as dangerous. Even though he's like um, so I think Trump is more dangerous because he has more charisma and people follow him. Musk has no charisma, and like people have abandoned him quite quickly. And if I'm really talking now, if I'm talking about like the morality, I think they're about the same. They're both just worthless, worthless, horrible people that have like no idea how the world works. Um, Musk thinks he's smart. Trump, I don't know if Trump thinks he's smart. I think Trump's just selfish and doesn't care. But Musk like thinks he's fucking genius when he's an idiot. Um, what kind of plan do you think Roose, known for having contingencies or exit strategies, has for facing Stannis? Huh. Like considering he's like this conservative guy. Um, I mean, I think he might have like an escape horse that would take him to the river or whatever, and they would sail away or something, or that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know if he's ever gonna. I mean, it is such an incredibly dangerous thing that Roose did in the first place. It's hard to believe that like why he like Roose is supposedly this like really timid guy, and then he keeps Ramsay around. Like nothing makes sense about Roose. Let's be honest. Like nothing makes sense. Like this is a guy who like is for some reason keeping around this absolutely crazy, hot-headed guy who probably killed his son. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Um, so who knows? Um, I always say that like my the one theory video series that I never did that I felt was like the last frontier that I never covered was the Boltons and trying to make sense of them. Like trying to make sense of that book that Roose read at Harrenhal and then threw in the fire. Um, Trying to make sense of like why he's keeping Ramsay around and um, his feelings about Domeric and things like that, and what his plans are at Winterfell, what his plans are in general. You know, I just don't know. Um, how would you fix the housing situation in America? I mean, Westeros. Where would the Dothraki, Ironborn, etc., finally settle? I mean, it's not very difficult in Westeros because there's plenty of land, right? Like they even talk about like the frozen shore and the gift. There being too much land and plenty of room for people. So it's strange that it's not even an issue in Westeros. Westeros is easy because there's just plenty of land and people are dying and there's it's gonna be there's plenty of room for them, plenty. They're talking about completely uninhabited areas that you can put people. I mean, it's just these armies are not very large. So when you think about like you know a whole like 40,000 Dothraki, like that's nothing. Like settling 40,000 people, that's a town. Like it's so easy to get to settle them. Um, so you could really put them anywhere. And like I say at the end, generally speaking, in the Middle Ages and you had too many women and not enough men because the men would die, and so no one to work the fields. You get plenty of fields that are going to be left where, and daughters that need to be married, that all these Dothraki and Ironborn could clearly just go in there and marry them if they wanted. And everyone's like, you'd want to marry your daughter off to an Ironborn or Dothraki. If you're a farmer, dude, and you need to survive and you need someone to work those fields, yeah, that's what you're gonna do. Um, to go west, you must go east. Whatever happened to the theory that Dany enters Westeros from the west? Is that interestingness for the fanfic? Um, I mean, this is this idea that she goes around the world, right? In order to get. I took to go east to go west. You must go east, meaning you kind of have to redo everything again, right? Like if you're in Vastoth Rock, you have to go back to Karth. You know that to get she has to go, just like she has to return to Vastoth Rock. She has to return and do everything again to really understand everything. I took it to be metaphorically that this idea of her going the other way around the world, um, like I don't know if it's that. It would take forever, and it would take. I don't know if it's that interesting. Um, because okay, she would just land and just land at Casterly Rock, and that would be it. Like after sailing all the way the Jade Sea and further past Ashai, and then she just lands in Casterly Rock. Okay, Um, I think it's a little more. I think it's much more metaphorical that they're talking about doing everything again. Um, but yeah, some people have talked about that as being the theory that the world is round. But um, there's some interesting aspects of like red silk from Ashai being on the frozen shore and things like that. But in the show we saw that Dany landed on Dragonstone, and there seems to be a Rhaenyra parallel there with that story. With dwarf advisors and such. Okay, hopefully. Thank you, Alec Campbell. I appreciate it, and we're gonna. Oh God. Trump says that he might go for a third term. It will point to Americans to take serious action. Is there a line in the sand? Trump's already said things that are much worse than that, and no action's been taken. So I don't think any line in the sand will be taken on this particular issue. I think he's done things that are a lot worse, and there's things that he's doing that are a lot more dangerous than threatening a third term. Which, again, he just lucky for us, people are mortal. Like he's going to die. He's going to die. His brain is gone. He cannot possibly go for a third term. But plus I don't think the courts would pass it, and I don't think people would vote for him, and I don't think he can rig the whole country. I think things are falling apart in America. I mean, when the stock market crashes and everything, and which it is, and tariffs destroy our economy, and we lose all of our allies. Like, at some point, the public opinion goes against the guy. I mean, it has. He's deeply unpopular right now, but so the idea of him taking a third term is just like it's kind of ridiculous at this point when he's so unpopular. You can see people across the wall from the top. This is on the time travel aspect. Okay, almost done. Undead sticky princes. The pale sticky princes. Yes. Um. Yeah, it is kind of weird that the twins are not the connecting thing from north to south, and that it's not that important, you know. So, um, what is this? MAGA till I die if certain people come asking. Oh. um, I mean, it's just okay, almost to the end here. Okay, finally made it to the end. Thank goodness. Is that why they used the senile card on Biden? So when Trump ran again, they would be overplayed. I don't think there's that people think that far ahead. John got banned by president anyway. Yeah, look, dude, like it's very simple. If if you're MAGA, I believe you're a horrible person, and I don't want you around. Like that's it. Like that's it. So it's just it's as simple as that. But that you know, so Carmine, you got anything end of the evening here? I was gonna head to bed, unless you got something you want to talk about right here at the end. I mean, it's just like these little things, like I mean, it's not little things; these big things. Like if you believe that women shouldn't have reproductive rights, like you believe women shouldn't have reproductive rights, you believe that like um, hundreds of thousands of people that do like government employees should be traumatized and tortured and fired and that they're all parasites, you know, like if you're MAGA, like you fundamentally like are not anywhere close to a human being that I want to be talking to. Like you're just a bad person. Like that's it. um so it's that's it. um right, like disappearing people, like you know, you think it's okay that we're just arresting protesters and deporting them to weird El Salvadorian prisons. Like what am I supposed to say, you know? Thank you, my Mount Agricrag. So how do I restore common sense? I don't know. I don't know. You know, it's like I don't have much optimism for the future of America. um you know, so but it's really it's you know it's just a I've known a lot of like um you know, weird religious MAGA types in my life, and they're some of the worst hypocrites I've ever met in my life. You know, like they're always like they themselves are always like gamblers or cheat on their wives or get divorced or whatever. Meanwhile, they want religious state laws like to enforce it, to make everybody else follow their rules, that they themselves can't follow. You know, and so it's just especially on the issue of like women's reproductive rights. Like I just can't even like I can't tolerate a right winger. Like I just can't. Like you're just so evil at that point. And lack of understanding of like how any of these issues work and affect people. And it's just like the number of people that I have in my life right now who are daily like have daily trauma and stress because um, of Doge and the attack on government employees. It's just atrocious. It's just atrocious. It's atrocious that any human being would be for that. So, um, um, oh fuck you, fuck you. All right, Fuck you, Sasazamami. Fuck you. Okay. Fuck you. Okay, you don't understand fucking shit. Okay. You don't understand like what laws like your Republicans like put forward to try to like stop women's reproductive rights. You don't understand fucking shit. You don't understand like what they try to do with like their 15-week bans and stuff like that. Like, oh, really? You're trying to ban women from getting an amniocentesis to do genetic testing, things like that. Go, like, fuck you. Fuck you. You know how fucking horrible it is when like going through like experiences like that where you need to get an abortion for medical reason or genetic defect or something like that, and you want to make it so fucking hard that they have to travel thousands of miles. Fuck you. You have no fucking clue how people deal with their families and their family planning. Go fucking away. Oh my god. Like, never fucking come back to my channel, dude. So it's just like I don't have any tolerance for these people anymore. They're so fucking dumb and callous and mean and idiotic. Like, and just repeating fucking talking points from your fucking Jesse Waters. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, destroying the fucking country, It's just, the economy is just crashing. Like, all of our savings and our retirements are going. Starting like wars with Canada. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Like, Stevitz, you're exactly right. Like, these people know nothing about these issues and yet think it's okay to like dictate and like, have these laws out there because of like their religious beliefs that they themselves can't fucking adhere to. Yeah. This is the kind of shit that like this is the kind of bills they're putting forward. They're like, oh, they're putting it back to the state. No, they're trying to stop women's reproductive freedom. Like, if I can do some research on Turner syndrome, okay, and the amount of like stopping people from being able to make choices like that, or ectopic pregnancies. Like, they just like arrested a woman in Texas for giving illegal abortions. But man, oh man. But yeah, bringing it on a down note at the end, man. Yeah, Carmine, come on for a second to cheer me up before I go to bed here, if you're around. Brown piano is exactly correct. Throwing it back to them for them to so they can limit it and ban it. Yeah, this DEI stuff is just like, I mean, they're just using this the N-word, right?
What about the N-word? I just got
The
here.
DEI is just the N-word now. They just use
Oh
it as the
yeah,
N-word.
pretty
Like, they can
much.
just be like, oh, that black guy, he's a DEI hire. Oh, so you're just calling him the N-word. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. How you doing, Carmine? How you doing? Cheer
I'm
me up before the
good.
end. I got pretty angry here at the end.
I don't know what to say. By the way, your mic on your volume on your mic has been very low this
That's what
this
everyone's
this
saying. I
evening.
don't know. I don't know what did I? Let me see here. No, Gainesville. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I mean, I've just been talking. I think talking in the probably just lower in general tonight. I've not been as loud in general.
Yeah, I know. I was telling people that you're usually quiet when you're tired. As someone who's been recording with you for almost in 2 years, it'll be 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, in 2 years, 2027.
Yeah.
We had this conversation last month that it's not that bad if George blogs about the situation with the FYC panel, and he has not. In fact, he waited 1 month to blog about anything. It was not in the Lost Lands. It was not the season 2 FYC panel. It was wildcards.
Oh yeah, Wild Cards is back, Lord. Lord, Lord. It's been a long time. I've been actually thinking it's been so fucking long since he's done a blog. Oh George, let's see what he says here. Lord Jago Brannock is having a party at Loveday House. Truth be told, he has a party every month. No two are ever the same, but nothing is ever the same at Loveday. Well, this goes on and on. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
What? So, by the way, now his wild cards say George R. Martin presents. They used to say edited by George R. Martin because he used to edit them. Now he doesn't. He doesn't even edit them. They
So
are
in wildcards, everyone has powers.
no, no. There was a virus that killed a lot of people, and then a lot of people are made into like mutants called Jokers, and then a very small select few are made into superheroes.
This kind of sounds like My Hero Academia, which is that's the premise is that in that anime, almost I think what 40% of humanity has powers, and some of them are just like mundane as you can like levitate small objects. Some of
Hmm.
them are crazy, like you have the powers of ice and fire, and some of them are just kind of weird, like you have the ability to like throw sticky balls from your head. It's stupid.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it kind of sounds like that.
This his room is weird. And then this festival.
Didn't even talk about in the Lost Lands. I wonder if he was satisfied with it.
No, of course not. I mean, I'm sure he thought it was. I'm sure he thought it was horrible,
But he
but
got paid nonetheless.
he got paid nonetheless for In the Lost Lands. Man, I mean, good old wild cards. Oh my god, that's just a fucking.
I should buckle down and check out Wild Cards just to see how it is.
Um, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
You should do your due diligence as the George R. R. Martin YouTuber. You're more of a George R. R. Martin YouTuber than you are an Ice and Fire YouTuber because you don't just focus strictly on Ice and Fire.
I mean, I've read the first like I've read like the first eight or so wildcard books, and I've read all the George R. Martin stories too. So it's just there's no there, no there's just it's I'm not saying it's bad. It's just kind of forgettable. I don't know. There's nothing. I mean, you're right that it's kind of like the X-Men, but you're not getting it. You're not getting an action packed drawn panel. Um, I don't know. It's a little weird. It's weird because there's a lot of pop culture references that are past that
Like
could be
what happened in
enjoyable.
Doorways when
Yeah, yeah.
like characters are not bringing up in. Ah, we got to do another doorway, something like doorway, sometime soon. That was fun. You, me, Trey, on just watch something.
Yeah, that was really fun. That was fun. I don't know what else we'd have. I mean, we got Berserk with the boys. Oh, Berserk with the boys coming out this week, and then that Trey Carmine and I recorded a Berserk with the boys on Friday night. That's what you that because that's what the boys do on Friday night is Berserk. It is kind of mid at best. It's almost I would say it's almost if it were worse, you could make fun of it more, like and it would be more fun because it's like bad. But like it's the fact that it's like kind of mid makes you kind of everybody kind of forget about it. Like you don't want to say it's great, but it's not horrible. It's just, Um can't wait for Davos 1. Yes, just started working on Davos 1. The submissions were just sent in recently, but we have some good ideas on it and some good, everything put together. But Asha is the one that's going to be coming out fairly soon. So
Actually, I do have an idea.
what's that?
Uh, I got to think of a good name for it because doorways should fall under this category. Should it be called like George R. Martin's Works with the Boys or something with the boys? But we did doorways with the boys. How about Beauty and the Beast with the boys?
Oh
Watch
my
the first.
god! Unfortunately, Beauty and the Beast, it's boring. It's just fucking boring.
Hmm.
It's real hard. It's really hard to get through. I
Should we
watched it.
do
Yeah.
Night Flyers with the boys? The new one, not the old one.
Oh, the new Night Flyers. I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, that's more entertaining. I think that the new Night Flyers series was all right, but I don't know. I don't know. We got a lot of Berserk in front of us.
Preston, there's no. It's not possible. You reading all these chat. That's just not possible. It's just not. It is just not. It would take us one a week. Would take us 3+ years.
I know. I know. And
Hmm.
we're not doing one a week. We've been doing like one every 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh man. Um well, thank you for coming on and cheering me up here, Carmine. I will I will yeah. What you got going on this week? What you got any videos coming out this week?
I want to play the. I'm going to try and play the Game of Thrones game demo that came out a while ago. I need to get on that and see how it is. The graphics for the demo they showcased in South Korea look cool, but the most recent demo looks like a Xbox 360 game. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Because I don't think in the Game of Thrones content creator community, I think Glidus and I are the only gamers, like
Mm,
people who actively play video games. Because I know a lot of people don't really play games, mostly adults.
it's big time suck.
So I'll probably cover that, and if you wanna cover that as well, maybe we'll cover that together. That's up to you though.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
They
sounds
didn't get
good.
the voice actors for the game, so don't expect Nikolai Kostal, whatever his last name is, or Lena Headey.
Well, you're not gonna get Lena Headey.
No, no,
Who's
no.
on?
Which is actually she did voice. She Lena Headey and Peter Dinklage were the voice actors for the Telltale game. So
Really?
I guess yeah. And of course, in the game, you fight a unicorn
Okay, let's see. Who's still on
and a
Cameo
griffin
right now? Okay.
cameo.
Okay, so right now you can get um Jerome Flynn, Hodor, um Jer Mormont, um Roz, Dolores Ed. Do you want me to show you this right now? Let me see.
I feel so bad for whoever got Lena Headey because holy shit, she was so unenthusiastic about doing it. She did a couple of them for like charity, and she was
Yeah.
so bad about it.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
the new Prince of Dorne
Prince of Dorne,
didn't even have any lines.
Janis Slint. Nice. Syrio. That he must get some good business. Syrio.
He
Because
has one line, and that's it. Like that's right there. That right there.
but
That's his. That's
you
the.
know if you got a birthday present of, you know, Carmine, happy birthday. What do we say to the god of death? Not today. You know,
I'd be
and then
like
you're
the
like
money.
that's gonna make you happy, right?
No, the money you spent on that, you could have just given it to me as a gift card. I'm just saying.
That
I'd
would
be a little upset. I'm just saying. I'll be upset.
I mean, okay. What if what about hi, it's Theo Nate, the guy who played the second Lenor Valarian.
For like 2 episodes.
Would
One
you like
episode.
would you would yeah, happy birthday.
Who's that? Wait. Who's that woman right there with the pronounced
Some
feature? God, who is that?
Valis Volkova?
I have no idea who that is.
I don't know.
Yeah, now we're just venturing into like guys that were on screen for 2 minutes.
Right. I mean, Toby Sebastian is he's the brother of um the Black Widow woman, right?
Scarlett Johansson?
No, the other one, the new one.
There's a new Black Widow?
The blonde,
Oh, Florence Pugh?
Yeah, yeah. Right? Aren't they brother and sister?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Okay.
Mace Tyrell. Oh, poor Mace. Janos Slint. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean,
The guy who was White Walker that like screeched at the end of season 2. What does he do? He's gonna screech at you? Like what?
yeah. And look, yeah, Westerling. Is that Westerling?
Harold Westerling? Yes, I believe so.
I think
Tavish.
Roz is pretty good though. I got Roz, and I don't know who this Laurel.
But what is she gonna do?
What else?
Flash her pussy at you? Because that's what she did in season 1. She did Theon. Like, what's she gonna do? Should I just pay for that? Like, what am I paying for?
All right, all right.
Someone's like, I know what I'm getting for Carmine. Bro, no, do not give me a fucking cameo of Janice Slint.
Oh man, oh man. Okay, all right. Well, thank you, thank you. You know what we say to the god of death? Happy birthday.
Ah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Carmine, and thank you everyone for, and we'll see you guys next time.